Welcome to a new frontier in San Jose Hockey Now. And I'm not just talking about the number 2 pick. We've got a new YouTube channel membership. Go to San Jose Hockey Now YouTube, where we've got perks like your comments and questions highlighted, featured. We will answer them. Plus, members-only video content. We've got a new Discord channel where we had an exclusive post-draft lottery AMA with Keegan and myself. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for everybody who joined in. Also, too, on the Discord, there's going to be an Ask Keegan Sheng channel. Also, Keegan will host many game watch parties there next year. Anyway, go to San Jose Hockey Now YouTube, join as a member to get both cool benefits. And of course, this is a podcast we're talking about here. And thank you so much for your patience. It's been a while since our last recording. We've got a super exciting show. We talk about the number 2 pick with Craig Button, our buddy Craig Button. Who would Craig Button choose between Ivar Stenberg, Chase Reid, or Carson Carels? Dan Boyle jumps on afterwards, and we talk about his impressions of Darren Raddysh, maybe trading the number 2 pick, the crazy McDavid and Matthews speculation, and we talk about what we do at number 2. But before we get to that, Zubair's got an exciting announcement. Take it away, Z.
San Jose Hockey Now listeners, we are so excited to announce our newest sponsor, Blade Tech. In hockey, only 2 things touch the ice, your skates and your stick. I had a friend once tell me, always invest in anything that connects you to the earth. Your tires, your mattress, and similarly, your steel and your sticks if you're playing hockey. Funny enough, I got into Blade Tech a couple of years ago, and my nephew noticed that Burnsy was wearing Blade Tech and told me it was the best steel he ever skated on. Hands down, the best steel I've ever used. Don't take my word for it. Obviously, the NHL Ironman leader is a huge advocate, Brent Burns, for Blade Tech. So that's all the proof you really need. Blade Tech uses the highest quality steel. And honestly, your blade should never break, especially when your kid is only 9 years old and weighs 90 pounds. That's why Blade Tech offers a 1-year warranty, way better than the 1 to 2 months from the OEM. The edges stay sharper much longer, giving you more bite and tighter turns that you could rely on. Blade Tech is best known, of course, for their patented Flex Force blade technology that gives you a speed boost. Also, unique spring action first saves your knees and then launches you quicker down the ice. You could really feel it, and trust me, we need every edge at my age. Also, they're doing twigs. We'll talk about that in a later segment, but you can now use our exclusive special code, San Jose Hockey Now 10, for a discount when ordering with Blade Tech. Go get your steel, go get your twigs, message us, comment, let us know. We are so excited to bring Blade Tech on. They got their Shorzy mini sticks, so couldn't be happier because it's a product I genuinely use and love. So thank you, Blade Tech, and welcome.
Welcome, Blade Tech. Blade Tech joins Bring Hockey Back as San Jose Hockey Now sponsors. Let's not forget about Bring Hockey Back. Bring Hockey Back. We love Bring Hockey Back. Has been with us for so long. Bring Hockey Back for hockey, your hockey jersey needs, adult beer league, just custom jerseys for any occasion. They also have cool t-shirts like the one I'm wearing, the Shorts t-shirt. Yeah. Coupon code San Jose Hockey Now. Get 15% off any Bring Hockey Back purchase. BringHockeyBack.com. We've got the foremost NHL draft expert in our business. Watch him on TSN. He's also, and I saw Craig serve somebody on Twitter about this recently, a Stanley Cup winner. He won the 1999 Stanley Cup with the Dallas Stars as a director of player personnel. Craig is, in short, the man, and he's got the ring to prove it. Welcome, Craig. Craig, you're the GM of the Sharks. You're on the clock. The Toronto Maple Leafs have just selected Gavin McKenna at number 1. Right now, on your personal list, not your mock draft, but your personal list, who are you taking at number 2?
I'm going to call a timeout Timeout. We got to discuss
We're gonna
this.
stop.
No, there's no timeout needed for me. Listen, I think Carson Carels, a left shot defenseman, projects as a number one. I think that Chase Reid, a right shot defenseman, projects as a number one. The margins are very thin. So you have Sam Dickinson, like a pillar defenseman on the left side, and I think Chase Reid can be the bookend for Sam Dickinson. I want balance. I think Chase Reid is a terrific player. I think Carson Carels is a terrific player. But why not try to find some balance with those two young players? And to me, when I watch Chase play, he's got kind of a similar style of play to Zach Werenski, somebody that can drive play from the moment he gets the puck. A lot of people go, wow, they jump into the attack. The minute Zach has the puck in Columbus, or playing for Team USA, he is dictating the game, and he can be below the goal line in his own zone. But that ability to dictate the game in the manner that Zach does, I think Chase has very similar qualities. Hey, listen, if he can become as good as Zach Werenski, that'll be something that's really special. But to me, I'm taking Chase Reid at number 2. I'm not taking a forward. I'm not even considering taking a forward because there's so many excellent forwards in San Jose. I think this is an opportunity with them moving up to 2 to be able to go and get that defenseman. And let's rewind for just 1 second. Think about what they did to get Sam Dickinson. They recognized at pick 14 that they were not going to get one of those 6 defensemen. That draft had those 6 defensemen. So they were aggressive, and they went and they said, well, we're going to get ourselves higher. They got themselves to 11, and they had a choice between Dickinson and Bouchard. And that is something that Mike Greer identified at the time. I think it's very similar with Chase Reid. He doesn't have to trade up to get him. He just takes him at 2.
I wonder, because Mike has emphasized the best player available, that kind of thinking, right? That, and your thinking, though, is Reid up there with a Stenberg as your best player available, a Malhotra?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is. Like, if you want a third-line center, go draft Caleb Malhotra because you got Celebrini and you got Misa. Like you want a number like this, like best player available is all taken relative to how you evaluate. Because if everybody knew who the best player available is, you would just say, okay, everybody would know it. You wouldn't need scouting staffs. Everybody would, okay, that's the best player available. You don't know that. So the bottom line is you got to make those evaluations, and people say best player available. Here's the way I look at it. I don't think Stenberg's better than Chase Reid. Now, do I think the margins are wide? No. Do I think the margins are real thin? I think the only difference between Carson Carels and Chase Reid, one's a left shot, one's a right shot. That's why I would take Chase Reid at 2 to be the bookend to Sam Dickinson. But there's no, like, to me, it's not a situation here where you're looking at players and go, well, geez, I'm bypassing a really good player to take one that fits a need. No. Chase Reid checks a box. And to me, he's the perfect guy to draft at number 2 for the Sharks at this point in time.
And I would guess that if for some reason the Maple Leafs pass on McKenna, then does McKenna become your best player available there for the Sharks?
Well, it depends who's left there too.
Well, yeah, it's a good point. We don't know who the Leafs would take, but
I guess if they took Stenberg, then
again, like, tell me how you're going to get a top pair defenseman.
Yeah.
I'm
trading a lot of things.
Okay, wait, trading a lot of things. Yeah, Quinn Hughes comes up every now and again, right? Like, so we can use, that's rare. Like, teams are not looking to trade top pair defensemen. They're not looking to trade top pair right shot defensemen. So again, like, oh yeah, you can go through the trades, or like, who's available on the free agent market this year? Like John Carlson.
Yeah, like, Darren Raddysh.
Well, good luck. Like, Chase Reid's better than, like, I mean, I'm talking about right now. Like, John Carlson's been a hell of a player for Washington, and now with the Anaheim Ducks. Darren Raddysh has had a surge up in his play, and you celebrate them. But you can go get those guys, but in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, you're looking for that guy all over again. And Chase Reid, to me, he's awesome.
Okay, so Leafs take Stenberg. So just to pin you down on this, are you taking McKenna or are you going Reid?
Tough call.
Yeah, you know, Keegan, you nailed it. Like, it is a tough call. So again,
time out.
no. Listen, these are things you have to discuss. These are good. These are good questions. These are really important things that certainly teams are going to look at. Okay, what if this? Then what do we do and whatnot? So I'll go back again to the number of forwards that the San Jose Sharks have. They have lots of them. It's a wealth of talent up front. So I'll ask you again the question before I answer what I'm going to say. How do you find the defenseman?
Yeah, no, it's really hard. You got to hope like a team like the Rangers suddenly want to trade Fox or something like that. So it is definitely very, very difficult.
So if I'm San Jose, as much as I like Gavin McKenna, and as much as I think Gavin McKenna is the best player in the draft, I don't think there's a big difference at like between McKenna and Stenberg, or McKenna and Carels and Reid. So I'm taking Chase Reid.
And to ask more about the defensive side, so it sounds like in your mind that the two defensemen that have really set themselves apart are Reid and Carels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, I mean, there's other scenarios here too. Like, you could look at it this way, and you could say, okay, McKenna's there. We love McKenna. We think he's a really good player, but we want to position ourselves to get a defenseman. So maybe you look at a team and you say, okay, what could we do to move back, a few spots, right? And now you say, okay, we think there's not much difference between Chase Reid and Daxon, Rudolph, or Keaton, Verhoeff. And now you start to go, okay, is there somebody that really wants McKenna? And can we move back a few spots and still get a really good right shot defenseman and get something else? All the different calculations, permutations, combinations that can be discussed. And again, I'm throwing out names. Everybody's going to evaluate differently.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to sit down and say, okay, we have this player here. I think I've told you guys this, but it bears repeating. Every single team in the National Hockey League will have a different top 10. Every single team. So tell me who's the best player available when every team has a different idea who the best player available is.
Right. So other defensemen that are talked about, you mentioned Verhoeff, you mentioned Rudolph. We could definitely throw in Albert Smits in there.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe there's a couple other guys too, but just like quick thoughts about any of those guys, or do any of those guys in your mind project to be number ones?
Well, here's the way I would look at it. So you're talking about those other. So that Smits is a left side defenseman,
Sure.
Right, and certainly he's good. I mean, he's a really good player. And if you think that he can be that good and he's better than anybody else, then you take him. That's where I don't force the issue. That's where I don't sit down and I'm not gonna galaxy brain it and sit down and go, well, geez, we need this guy. Oh no, he doesn't fit. If I believe that player, like, I don't care that I have Stan Dickinson on the left side, I'll take Albert Smits. Malte Gustafsson, the 6'4.5" defenseman for Sweden, he's an excellent player. Don't be surprised if he goes in the top 10. So you start to look at some really good defensemen that are available. I talk about the balance of the right side, left side with Dickinson but if you evaluate a player and think he's better than anybody else there, and it happens to be a left side defenseman, just take him. I'm not going to galaxy brain it.
Yeah, and this brings up a late bloomer of sorts that you mentioned in your mock draft recently. It's Caleb Malhotra. Is he strong enough of a late bloomer, had kind of a rise enough to really go into the top 4?
I think he is, Keegan. I think he's shown over the course of the last 18 months, really. He went to the British Columbia Hockey League, played there. He was a young kid. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for a young player going to that league, playing against older players. But I thought he adapted well over the course of the year. And then he goes to the OHL, plays in Bradford. And early on, you go and you watch Caleb, and you watch him for a couple of years. And what you're watching is all these what I call data points. So you see him here, and you go, okay, this is what you can see now. Then you see him again, you go, okay, like these are areas that you can see some market improvement, right? and you continue that process through. So early on in the year, when I watched Brantford play, you're watching him and you're going, yeah, he's taken another step. He's showing that he's capable of more. And that also comes with maturity. You're bigger, you're stronger, you understand things a little bit better. It's not just physical maturity, it's also the mental maturity, understanding the game, understanding your game and how you can, instill and like make an imprint in the game. And I think that Caleb started to show that. It wasn't until after Christmas, though, that I think Caleb got really comfortable asserting himself. Jake O'Brien got hurt, didn't play, and he was out for a period of time. And Caleb just said, okay, I'm going to take a hold of it. And he took a hold of it. He to me, like, okay, so Jake O'Brien, a first-round draft pick to Seattle last year, good player. Caleb Malhotra went right past him. Right past him is their best center for the Brantford Bulldogs. And to me, he's a complete two-way center. He can do it all. I don't think he's going to be a 100-point guy, but I think that everything he does in the game, and I think that I think he can be a number one center. He might be a 1B, not a 1A. I reserve that 1A for the Celebrinis, McDavids, Matthews, Eichels. That's who I bark off. That's who I reserve it for. So I'm not trying to be negative on a 1B, but I think he can be a really good 1B. And I had him going to Vancouver because that's exactly what they need. They need a center. And it's the same argument I make. If you don't draft centers, how are you going to get them? Because teams aren't like the Vancouver Canucks have spent how many years trying to find a second line center? The Winnipeg Jets, how long have they spent trying to find a second line center? Well, if you can't get them through free agency or trades, because teams don't want to trade their players, you better draft them when they're available. And I think Caleb would be a great fit for the Vancouver Canucks, not because of his dad, because of Caleb. Let me be very clear here. It's because of Caleb. It's not because I'm not taking a player because he has bloodlines. I'm taking a player because I think he can help our team in a certain area and be really good and prolific. And I feel that way about Caleb.
I wanted to ask you actually more about Mal. I wanted to actually galaxy brain it with you here, Craig. So let's look at the Sharks' perspective here. And you mentioned how much you love Malhotra. You said, I think I saw something from you earlier. I think you said it to Sakaris and Price that Malhotra, in your mind, is every bit as good as Stenberg. And Stenberg is a winger, and you don't build your team, positionally, you don't build your team, so you don't start off on wing. So if you're the Sharks, could you convince yourself that let's build the potential center depth for the ages, and you draft Malhotra, you put him behind Celebrini and Misa? It's happened before. I was thinking about it. The Pittsburgh Penguins, 15 years ago, you look down the middle, they have Crosby, they have Malkin, they have Jordan Stahl. So can you talk yourself into this, or are we galaxy braining it, Craig?
So do you know why Pittsburgh took Jordan Stahl? Because they felt he was a really good third line center and would complement Crosby and Malkin better than Jonathan Toews. They knew Jonathan Toews was really good, but they said, we felt that Jordan could, the size and everything we did.
Sure.
Like, the other thing you don't want to be doing is having players fighting for the same thing, because what ends up happening is players now start to feel like they're not valued. And now you're trying to squeeze it in. So, that's one of the things that when you look at it and you consider how they go about their business, I think that became a reason. But Malhotra to me is not a number 3 center. Malhotra to me is a number 1 center. And you can draft Malhotra. I'm not saying don't draft Malhotra. Maybe they see Malhotra as a superb third line center. Maybe they see him like Anton Lundell. And is there anything wrong with saying that, okay, we're going to get this great third line center and he turns into a number 2 or number 1? Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But again, it depends how you project them. I don't think, in the world that we're in today with the salary cap, it's hard to start trying to build every position out to the maximum of your capability. I'll give you an example. Bill Belichick, he traded 2 big-time All-Pro players, Chandler Jones, who was a great rushing defender, defensive end, and Jamie Collins, who was a great linebacker. And everybody said, "What the hell are you doing?" He did it like at the trade deadline. Then they went and won the Super Bowl, and they asked Bill about it. And they asked Jones and they asked Collins about it. And he said, "No, Bill was up front with us. They were developing other players." And what Bill said is, he goes, like, "I'd love to have those guys. I love them. But I can't have the highest paid player to ever position because I only have 23 players and I need 55 or 54, 53." And so it's the same thing when you're building an NHL team. If dollars were unlimited, well, then you just you hoard and you just keep trying to, as you point out, Sheng, just keep building and building and building. I think you have to find balance in your lineup, and go from there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was this is to switch gears a little bit back to Stenberg. I know we're hitting all the main guys up top here, but I think it was announced today that Stenberg is going to be going to World Championships with Sweden.
Okay.
Is that right, Craig? I think it was, or at least I think so.
Him and Viggo Bjork have been playing with the national team in the games leading up to the World Championship.
Do you see maybe like Leo Carlson in 2023 that they could rise their status a little bit in this draft with a good performance there?
Yeah, it's a good question. And when you go in and start evaluating players at the World Championships, you're now evaluating them against pro players. You're evaluating them against a lot of NHL players. And that's something that is in the scouting process, you never get the opportunity to test the players in the draft for the most part against the competition they're going to be playing at in the National Hockey League. So I don't think there's any negativity for going into a World Championship and saying, okay, we're going to see how he does in this scenario, how he handles this. And at the same time, if he doesn't handle it well, I don't think it should be any type of a negative. But if it does, if he shows, well, it might just give you a little bit more impetus to say, hey, when I talk about the margins being, how do you get on the right side of the margins, right? How do you climb up the margins? It's things like that, Keegan, that I think can allow that to happen.
So Stenberg and maybe Smits too, right? Like these are two guys that like can really benefit from what they can show here at Worlds, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Smits went and showed at the Olympics what a good player he is.
Yeah, that's already been.
And I don't think there's any question that Alberts is a good player. But at the same time, like I'm cautious just because there's good players at the World Championships, and there's players that have been in NHL, that are NHLers, that have been NHLers. And so it's just another opportunity, as I say, another data point. And when you when you can evaluate players closer to the level of the NHL, it should increase your confidence about what you think they can be. And call it just some lift, call it a little bit of air in their sails. But I think that's something that certainly, to your question, Keegan, that Ivar Stenberg can take advantage of.
I wonder with a guy like Smits, though, like, because he already, he did a good job at the Olympics. This is like the highest level of possible competition. Why that didn't lift his stock, up to the very ceiling of it? Is it just you look at a guy like Reid's and Carels and what they bring and their ceiling? It just feels like maybe their ceiling just a little higher still than Albert Smits in your mind.
Yeah, I think it's positive. There's nothing negative about what you just said about Smits. But, those players didn't have an opportunity to play at that level. Not that they would have or they should have. They're not ready. Albert's playing for Latvia, gets that opportunity. He acquitted himself very well. But you're also evaluating a lot of other aspects. I think the thing with Albert, you go, okay, he handled this, he handled that. That gives you a level of confidence. And without the opportunity for Chase or Keaton or Carson to be able to go and do that, they're where they are. So you have to. People ask me this all the time, Sheng. Like, how do you evaluate players at different levels? My answer to that is I'm projecting to the NHL.
Sure.
I'm projecting what the qualities that I think are necessary to be good at the NHL level, and I want to see those qualities. I want to see them doing those things. And with the absence of higher level competition that others didn't have and Smits had, it should help Smits build your confidence. but it shouldn't cloud your view on other players still having very good potential and in some cases better potential. But I'm going to say it again. The margins are thin here.
Right. I would ask you then, going back to Reid, because I think Reid is, at least for Sharks fans, I think, of course, they know that the Sharks need defense, and Reid is going to be the shiny object from here to the draft for Sharks fans. So what is Reid's qualities that are kind of most NHL projectable here, that you see that he's going to flourish in the NHL with?
Well, I mean, I don't think that any player can be effective, can be elite in the National Hockey League unless you process very quickly. We can call it what IQ and everything. You have to process the game exceptionally quick. Next generation processing, and Chase has that. That's number one. I can talk about his skating and his puck handling. Like, we're not talking about a player at that part of the draft that can't skate, that doesn't have puck handling, that doesn't have a good shot.
Yeah.
So he has all those things. He's quick. He's agile. He's got great lateral agility, and he uses it to defend. He uses it to be part of the offensive thrust. He's a player that can lead the offensive rush. He doesn't wait for it. He's got initiative in his game, and I think that that's a real standout quality for Chase. He's not waiting for the game to come to him. He's dictating the game. I think that's a special quality for any defenseman that's going to be a number one. And then he's a competitor. And then I look at what he's done over the last 18 months. He came from the North American Hockey League to the OHL, to the World Junior, where he was outstanding, and then he goes back to Sault Ste. Marie, had an injury, but I saw no drop-off in his game. I just saw a player that continued to understand what the game is all about. And I also think that he has gained a measure of confidence in his game in terms of, like, oh, this is what I'm capable of? Okay, I'll show you. Maybe I'm capable of more. And I have seen what I would call step-by-step elevation in his initiative and in his purpose. I think he's a player that can not only be a real factor from the blue line position, but be a player that can handle all the different situations in the game and handle them well.
Is a part of that is that part of the excitement with Chase Reid too, that he's gotten so good so fast that it feels like there's even more kind of, like, he's not a guy that we've been talking about for like 3 years, like maybe Verhoeff a little bit here, that like there's something even more untapped here because he got so good so fast.
Yeah, what I would say to that is I'm not so sure that he got good so fast. You want to see players improve. You want to see him take on the next challenges. I think Chase probably played without the assuredness that I see him play with now. And you're trying to play in the USHL. He's not there. So he goes back to the North American Hockey League, tries to get his feet wet there and play. And then the rules change. And we saw what happened with the rules surrounding players being able to go play in the NCAA after playing in the CHL. And he jumped at the opportunity to go to the OHL. And I think there was two things that worked in his favor. Number one, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds were so incredibly excited about having him. And then when he started, they said, hey, go. and they literally said, hey, go. And he came right out of the gates, and he was terrific. And I don't think there was enough eyeballs on him. And so that would be the third thing. And then you start to watch him. I was at a game earlier this year, earlier in the season, I should say, and you're watching the game, and there was nothing but good that happened every time he was on the ice. And I remember talking to a NHL scouting director, and we were just chatting, and one of those casual talks. And he said, well, he goes, this was productive. I came to watch the game, try to get a feel on players. Well, I know there's one really good player in this game, and I hope we don't pick him. I hope we're not in a position to pick him. So that's early on in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I think that absolutely, you want to see players improve. We talked about Caleb Malhotra. Certainly, you saw that with Chase Reid, and you see it with other players. And conversely, you don't see it with certain players. And it
Sure.
doesn't mean they weren't good at one point in time, but it's always about progression. How are you
Mhm.
progressing? How are you handling the next challenges? Some players do it, some players don't.
Can we get you on a comp for Reid?
Zach Werenski.
Zach Werenski, okay.
Yeah, it's a good segue to our next
Yes.
question. Does it make sense to you where the Sharks are competitively? They were 4 points out of a playoff spot, in it till the very end, to potentially trade this pick for a number one defenseman like a Zach Werenski, Adam Fox, if one became available, instead of trying to draft and develop one?
Well, I'm not trading that second pick for Adam Fox. That's for sure.
Hmm.
To me, and I like Adam. There's nothing against Adam, but you got to look at where your team is at,
Mhm.
and so when do you think the San Jose Sharks can be a legitimate Stanley Cup contender?
Soon as
Probably
we get
still a
some
couple
D.
years away. Yeah, well, that too.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so fair enough. But I'm talking about the young group there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Like
like you can get D in there all
3.
you want. There's a progression and maturity that needs to happen with your group. Are you ready? Are you ready to contend? Look at the Anaheim Ducks. Just
Mhm.
look at the Anaheim Ducks and look at the players they have, right? And good young players. But they're not Stanley Cup. I don't think they're Stanley Cup contenders yet. But
Mhm.
maybe they find a way to win this series. Maybe they don't. But they're on the right track. And
Yeah.
the players, just go look at the players they have on their team. It's not like these guys were players that have been that just showed up last year. There's been growth in those players. So I'll go back to what I said earlier. How many teams are trading number one defensemen in the National Hockey League?
Yeah. There's normally smoke
Vancouver,
and
because their backs were against the wall.
yeah, there's normally smoke with these kind of things. Like with Vancouver, we heard about it for a little while, and then it
Exactly.
happened.
And so I think you also have if you're a team, like for example, you're a team, you're the San Jose Sharks, and you got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs. You're going, hey,
Mhm.
we're close. We need that right shot defenseman. Our future has got to be more about the present than down the road. That's where you would look at an Adam Fox.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
I don't think the Sharks are near that. So
Mhm.
I'm not giving up the second pick and an opportunity to get a dynamic defenseman like Chase Reid to make that trade right now. But is there a younger defenseman you could get? Is there somebody else that's in that category? I don't know. Ask yourself this question. Could have you traded the second pick last year to get Jackson Lacombe?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a good.
I don't know if the Anaheim
Yeah.
wants to do that. Yeah, that's
I
the
said
problem.
last year, Keegan, and I'm not so sure they would have.
Yeah.
But okay, can you go and identify a player that maybe is not Jackson Lacombe because he signed the extension? I just bring him up
Yeah.
because you guys aren't surprised because you know how good he is and you watch him and you're there on a regular basis seeing how good he is. A lot of people didn't realize how good he was. But who is that defenseman out there right now that you could go and perhaps say, hey, you're interested in the second overall pick? And, you go and get Jackson Lacombe before he became Jackson Lacombe. And people are going, oh, geez, that guy turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like age range, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
fans are talking or are hoping that a lot of Sharks fans, that is, are hoping that Detroit would want to trade like a Mo Seider. Now, there's no reason in the world for the Red Wings to trade a Mo Seider, but he's the age range we're talking about, though, right? That okay, he is 24 or 25, I think, and so okay, that's like that could be worth a trade like that.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I said earlier, though. He's going to have Norris Trophy votes. He's one of the best
Right.
defensemen. He's a top defenseman in the league. Yeah, I guess you could trade him if you're Steve Yzerman, but what are you getting back? And let's just say it's San Jose. The way Steve Yzerman makes that trade, if it's lopsided.
Mhm.
Yeah. Multiple things with the second.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. That Steve's not looking to just go get a second and give up Mo Seider.
Yeah.
So, but those are things you can contemplate. Certainly, the San Jose Sharks can contemplate that. I'm not suggesting that you don't look at it, but it becomes a little bit bolder. Like, who do you want to go, and who do you identify as that player that could, be a couple years older than these guys. And when I say a couple, it might be 3 or 4 years older, but hasn't quite emerged yet. That's where scouting comes in. That's where, evaluation comes in, and confidence. No, we're making this trade because we think it can really be something about. And the other thing you have to be able to do is be patient, because sometimes, players become available that you didn't anticipate becoming available. And that's part of when Mike Greer is talking to other managers around the league, some names might come up that he didn't anticipate coming up.
Right,
So that's options for Mike. Oh, geez, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And now all of a sudden you have different possibilities on your plate.
Well, and that's what you're saying too. We mentioned Werenski, but Werenski and Fox are both 28, so maybe that age range is just a little high for what we're talking about here.
10 years.
Yeah. I want to move on, though, to a little more about the draft. The Sharks will also have the number 19 or 20 pick. Any kind of sleepers that you like there in that spot?
There's always good players at different parts of the draft. We see it time and time again, right? Like, hey, the Sharks dined out on Joe Pavelski being a 7th round draft pick for years. I mean, and I always say this, Sheng, that in the draft, people talk about the draft. Oh, it's a good draft. It's a bad draft. Here's what the numbers tell you. This is just straight data. That approximately 45 players will play 350 games or more in the NHL. Some with greater degrees of success than others, but that's the straight numbers. That's the range of what you get. So here's the way I look at a draft. So if you know that going in, you know there's going to be misses in the first round. There's going to be misses in the second round. So if you draft players that are good, it was a good draft. If you draft players that aren't good, it wasn't a good draft. So to answer your question, though, there's all kinds of good players that the San Jose Sharks can consider at 19 or 20. Like, and different. There's too many to name.
Okay.
But I see a draft where there's some really good offensive players available. So that's where some of the forwards might become available. Like, I'll give you a name who I think is a real terrific player, Alexander Command. He's a Swedish center. I think he's a really good two-way center. He might be the Lundell, Jordan Stahlton. All of a sudden now at 19 or 20, you get a crack at an Alexander Command. He's a couple years away from being able to come in and play, but you have Celebrini, Misa, Command. Now your order of money works, right? Your order of time on ice works.
Yeah.
And now you got symmetry within your team. You got balance within your team. And so that would be one player that I would look at. There will be a few players that have skill that are going to be available for them. And I think that we see teams take a chance on skill, but you better be careful about drafting soft skill.
Okay.
Because the one thing that soft skill does not do, it doesn't help you win when it matters.
Okay. So, Craig, thank you so much for your time. We just wanted to end with a couple of quick ones here.
Sure, yeah, let's go. Yeah, I'm good,
yeah. The Sharks today, right now. How did you like Michael Misa and Sam Dickinson's development this year?
So the Sharks took a very measured approach with both of them. And we saw them, in Sam's case, not play every game, sit out in the early part of the year. I think that Hockey Canada was really hoping to get him for the World Junior Tournament, but the Sharks determined that he had already turned over as a pro player mentally. So why were you going to send him back? He was already well on the path of learning and growing with the San Jose Sharks. And I think we saw that growth. Sam's a confident young player, but he's also somebody that's astute and intelligent and learns. And I I absolutely saw. I mean, I've watched Stan since he was 15 years
Yeah.
old, and nothing surprises me with his progression, and I think with his maturity. Like, he's a guy that's used to having one foot over the boards, playing 30 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And I thought he really adjusted nicely to the growth as an NHL player. And that's in so many different areas. Michael was a top player in the Ontario Hockey League. It was not going to serve him anything to go back to the Ontario Hockey League. He turned pro. We could argue or say, oh, maybe he would have been better off, playing in college hockey. But the same thing, the measured approach, how they're going to work with Michael. He ended up getting hurt. So that set him back a little bit. Went to the World Junior Tournament. I thought he was fine at the World Junior Tournament. I thought post-Olympics, I saw Michael a number of times, like live. I thought he really started to show the high-end ability. And it was more about his confidence with the puck, holding the puck, the game appearing slower to him, not him feeling rushed, and really making those plays that make him, like, to me, an elite offensive player. He's an elite offensive player. And when you start to think about that progression, like certainly the last 20, 25 games of the season, like I saw the Michael Misa that was a dominant player in the Ontario Hockey League. Well, I shouldn't say he wasn't dominant in the NHL, but you saw all the signs that you saw that made him a top pick. Listen, how about if I ask you this question? If Michael Misa's in this year's draft, he's probably the first overall pick.
Okay. That's a statement right there.
He did have like an outstanding season. If you look back at just year over year comparatively, it was an outstanding OHL season. And then it was hard at times to really see if that's 77 or 71 out there. It felt like at the very end. I kept catching myself saying, "Is that Celebrini?" No, it's Misa. Okay, at the very end of the season.
And I think that's you started to see Keegan the same things, that he was confident, he was holding the puck, he was making plays, he wasn't trying to get the puck off his. Young players come in and they're so aware and they don't want to make a mistake, so they're hurried. And that's where you start to hear the players say, "Well, the game slowed down to me." It's not that it slows down. It's that they're not hurried anymore. They don't feel compelled to have to do something before it's the right thing. And I saw that confidence grow like significantly in Michael Misa. He's a terrific player.
All right,
last question for you, Craig.
Yeah, quick. Yeah, Keegan, quick.
Your most recent top 50 NHL ranked prospects or affiliated prospects, you had Wallenius at 29 and Eric Polkamp at 45. Can you talk just a little bit, couple seconds, of why you like them so much and could either figure into the Sharks lineup sooner rather than later?
Top four, maybe.
Listen, Leo to me is one of those elite skating defensemen, and I don't think Leo's going to be a prolific offensive player, but he's going to help the offense. He's going to help you get out of your own zone and get the puck up to those really gifted offensive players. And those offensive forwards are going to love playing with Leo because it means they don't have to play in their own zone. It means that they can start, as Mike Babcock used to call it, they can get to the fun zone a lot quicker. and Leo's calm. He's cool. When Sweden won the World Junior Tournament, it's funny because we have the two pools, and I was doing the Sweden USA pool in St. Paul and other people, and when they merged, Canada loses to Czechia, and everybody's going, "Oh God, the Czechia forward check. Oh, Sweden's not going to be able to handle it." I said, "Yeah, don't worry, the Swedes will handle it because they had Sahlin Wallenius, Alphonse Frey, Winnipeg Jets draft pick, and Sasha Boubenzien, Winnipeg Jets, elite skating defensemen. They're all on three different defense pairs." They couldn't get near them forechecking. And the puck was just coming out. Like, the Czechs were so frustrated in that whole thing. And that's what Leo brings to the game. He's competitive. He's smart. He when I say competitive, he's a real great competitor. But his game is about defending, using his skating to move the puck up the ice. He'll join the rush. But his game is about helping the offense not have to play in the defensive zone. He's a really good skating defenseman. Listen, Eric Polkamp, I've watched for a number of years. Eric Polkamp wasn't on anybody's radar. You talk about Sheng players, really emerging and moving forward.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what Eric did. And Eric played for one of the best coaches anywhere in the world, David Carl. players that go and play on the blue line for David Carl, all players improve under David Carl. But Eric took major steps forward. He is an awesome competitor. He understands what his game is. And you think about, he's not Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle was a great offensive player. He was a great, no, but Danny was a great, but Eric's like a bull moose, and he's got a good shot. He's got good offensive abilities, but he's in the fight. He's in the battle. He's in it to win it. And he can play defense. He can play on the penalty kill. He can play on the power play. But I think that Eric Polkomp is a 6th-round draft pick. I think he was. He
was
for
a
the
fifth
round draft pick. Like that's a terrific pick. There's an example that let's just go back an example. If you get good players out of the draft, it was a good draft. If you don't get good players out of the draft, I guess you can say it wasn't a good draft. But it doesn't mean the draft class was bad. It means your selection of the players was bad.
Sure.
Well, cheers to a hopefully great draft for the San Jose Sharks.
Yes.
Hey, listen, they've done pretty darn well. I don't
They
think,
really have.
you draft Macklin Celebrini, you draft Michael Misa. I thought the move up to 11 by and getting Dickinson was shrewd because they recognized they wanted a defenseman there. Chernishev, a 2nd-round draft pick, and we just talked about Polkomp, Leo Sahlin, Wallenius, the 2nd-round. Like, come on, like the Sharks are doing really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Craig, thank you so much for your time. I know it's been a busy day for you, so get over for your next media hit.
Listen, let me tell you this: I'm never too busy for you guys. Just so you
appreciate it, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
We love you, Craig. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
The Sharks win the lottery for the number 2 pick. We're going to talk about that. That's obviously super exciting. Before we do that, though, so much playoff hockey going on. Dan, are you watching any series right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty much watching all of them. I kind of record all the games and I just fast forward my way through it, kind of rewind if there's a scrum or a fight, which is like every shift, it seems. But the one that I had, obviously the eyes on was the Montreal Tampa series for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I played in Tampa, and obviously Marty being a good friend of mine and my family all being Montreal Canadian fans, going to Game 7. That was a pretty awesome series, and very, very happy for Marty. I mean, his legend continues to grow, and they're going to have a statue of him in Montreal someday, I think.
Whoa.
If he can bring him, if he can bring him to the promised land, if he brings them to, obviously they.
I mean, Montreal hasn't had a lot of good coaches there, Dan. Scotty Bowman, Toe Blake.
I was saying it facetiously, but he's just so proud of him. He's done such a great job, and so obviously, and now obviously the Montreal Buffalo series, which was growing up, the Sabres were good when I was young, and the Montreal, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Montreal, Buffalo were all kind of little close town rivalries. So it'll be nice to watch that series develop as well.
What's speaking about coaching from that Game 7, which was like, I've never seen something like that, just completely getting outshot, outplayed. But speaking about the coaching part that was interesting is John Cooper's decision to put on and start later in the game the 2nd power play unit in a Game 7, and then they score.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to make that read and be like, you got Kucherov on your first PP.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm starting with PP2 in Game 7 because his on-ice reads. I just thought that was a brilliant coaching move. Of course, because they scored immediately.
Yeah. Well, if they don't, he looks like an idiot, right? So there are chances you take, and I do think that no matter if you have the horses or not, sometimes within a game, your top guys may be off, and you have to make those decisions. And again, he looks brilliant for doing it. Had he not, they would have said why, but that's why he's been one of the best coaches in the league for forever now. So, that was interesting.
Yeah. And then the one I've been watching a lot of, and I think someone was asked, and Sheng, I think, asked, was like, is Boyle watching, what series is Boyle watching? And I was like, I'm guessing the one with the 2 best defensemen in the league going head to head.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've been such a huge fan of Makar for the last 3 years. But I had not watched Quinn Hughes. I had not. I don't think I had watched him for an entire game besides maybe the game he plays against the Sharks.
Yeah.
But he's been unreal.
Dude.
He's been amazing. And when I run into people, sometimes people that might were at golf or whatever, like they want to, what do the Sharks need? What do the Sharks need? We talk about defensemen, and yes, there's defensive defenseman, offensive defenseman, but what Hughes does is, yes, he's an offensive defenseman, but like just the amount of time those two and his partner, he's got a really good partner, obviously. The amount of time they have the puck on their sticks and the calmness, you don't have to play defense. So if they're on the ice for 30 minutes, I'm sure there's analytics here, and Keegan's not on. He's our analytics guy. But if you're on the ice for 30 minutes a game and you control the puck for 21 minutes of it, those 9 minutes you're defending, you're limiting your chances against. So needing that defensive defenseman is important. But if you can have a guy like obviously Hughes or Makar that can just control the pace of the game and not have to defend all that much, that in itself is playing good defense because you're in the other end. So he's been freaking brilliant, man, and his footwork and his agility and deception, and we talked about it last podcast. They're giving him the room because they have so much respect for him. Guys don't want to get burned, and he can just pretty much wheel around. And watching him in the offensive zone for me is awesome because even when I played, like I would kind of go roam around a little bit, and it was kind of frowned upon a little bit. Now you just see guys like going around and around, stopping and starting, cutting back, and I'm assuming the coaches are like, "Fuck, you guys do you," and you have to have the guy to do it. Of course, you're not going to want certain guys to do that, but those guys can do it, and it is freaking a joy to watch, man. It's impressive.
Dude.
There are stats that show actually how much Hughes has the puck in the offensive zone and possession stats, and he leads it. I was looking at it last year because I was actually curious about Lane Hutson last year.
Yeah.
Looking at the Calder Trophy race, and Lane is way up there too. Lane is was top 5.
Too,
yeah.
But Hughes was like number 1, like by percentages higher than even number 2, like Makar and Hudson and guys like that. And I guess that's what you're talking about. That even anecdotally, just eye test, you can see that you can't get the puck off of him.
Well, that's it. I mean, we were always taught 30 to 45 second shifts is kind of like your average shift in the NHL. Well, it's not. He may have the puck on the ice for 25 to 30 of those. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, and I talked about Dickinson and effective skating. Well, that's perfect example of effective skating.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yes, he's playing a lot. The ESPN guys were like, how often would you play, Faber, and play him 30? He's so effective with his skating that he can easily play 30 minutes. He's young. I wouldn't worry as a coach about that. Obviously if he's getting hit or, as the series moves on, something you take a look at, but his skating is so freaking effective and it allows him to play long minutes.
And one thing about his skating that I wanted to add to your point is that he's so agile in terms of his movements on the ice that he finds open ice and space so well. And we'll talk about, a couple of the people in this draft that have a similar skill set. But the other thing that I thought was interesting is seeing him versus Makar in this series. I think that a lot of Hughes's, like obviously his Corsi numbers, puck possession, as Sheng alluded to, super high. But then what Makar could do with the puck in half the time and just create that space and bury it and score on the rush.
Good point. Yeah.
Right? Like two different types of players.
Yeah, they're not identical. Yeah, like I said, I've watched Makar a ton, but they're not the same. They're not the same type of player, but they're both
completely
equally effective. Like they're freaking awesome. They're the two best D-men in the league.
And then we were talking about his skating. There was a play in the last game where, he was up against McKinnon one-on-one, and McKinnon did a little spinorama, and Hughes' defense, like he played him perfectly and kept up with his speed and pace. And to your point, he's not defending often, but when he is, he can defend as well because of his skating ability.
Yeah.
But then on the reverse side, let's talk about Nate Dogg, because watching Nathan McKinnon in this last game, he was hands down the best player in the game. power play goal, great assist on the power play to Landeskog. Absolutely buries Hughes.
Yeah, I did see that. Enough spinoramos, boy. Here we go.
Yeah, like, let's go. Like,
for those listening or who come in late on this, so this is the Game 2 Colorado, Minnesota you're referring to, right?
Yep,
okay.
Yep. And you know what? Because we always hear Celebrini talked about, Crosby, McDavid. That game, I was like, I actually think Celebrini is more Nate Dogg. Like, I actually think he's got more of the Nathan MacKinnon, way of addressing physicality and playing defensively than either of those two. The way that he plays defensively, Celebrini is more like Nathan MacKinnon, in my opinion, and I'm seeing it more and more the more that I watch Nathan MacKinnon in this playoff round. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I think stylistically, actually, the way that Macklin on the power play, they drop it to him. It just reminds me more of McKinnon, a little more kind of, I don't know, just like straight ahead kind of.
Yes. You know what's interesting though, talking about the Avalanche power play in their entry, they drop it to McKinnon, but in the Sharks double drop pass, it's usually our defenseman that drops to Will Smith drops to Celebrini, and that's usually within our defensive zone or, low neutral zone. If you watch the Avalanche power play, what's really interesting is they'll give it to McKinnon in the high neutral zone, and then Landeskog is on the flank. So his entry, he's building up speed through the neutral zone without the puck, and they do that because they have a defenseman that can have a controlled entry for longer, essentially, is my theory as to why. But that delayed entry is a lot better, and if you look at their zone entries, it was unreal. They just couldn't defend it. Like every power play entry, they're straight in immediately, but they drop it to McKinnon much later than the Sharks drop to Celebrini.
That's interesting. The Colorado's Avalanche, their power play actually struggled for most of the season, so they were bottom of the league for the first 3 quarters of the season, which is inexplicable. But anyway, hey Keegan, what's up?
Hey guys.
Keegan, what's up, man?
How's it going?
Hey buddy.
Going
good.
But yeah, we're kind of just talking about the playoffs now. But so Dan, I wanted to ask you a couple questions. First, if the Sharks would have one type of defenseman from anybody you see in the league, now you especially have caught up on a bunch of them during the playoffs. Is Hughes your guy? Is Makar your guy still?
Yeah, Makar's been my, Celebrini's my favorite player. Makar's been my favorite defenseman for years. But that's because I hadn't watched Hughes. I think Hughes is very quickly, 1 and 2. So, in regards to the Sharks, I mean, that to me, I mean, you're not going to find that, they're out there. I mean, he might be 14 right now with the next Quinn Hughes, or the next Makar might be 14 right now. But those guys are hard to come by. But that's certainly, we've talked about it on this podcast. That's a position for me that, not just the power play, which is obviously important, but just controlling the pace of the game, calming things down when things are out of control, speeding things up when you need a goal, and just Keegan, what I was discussing before you came on here is just not playing as much defense. You don't, playing good defense is being in the offensive zone more. So yes, do you want to shut down defensemen? Everyone does. But if you can have a guy or two that can just control the play like Faber and Quinn Hughes does, you're playing so many less minutes in your end. And I'm sure analytics will suggest that the less you play in your end, the less goals you're going to give up. And then that just kind of takes care of
defenses for nerds,
goaltending issues and defensive issues. And to me, a guy that can have the puck on his stick and just basically control the game is what the Sharks are. That's why I brought up Werenski last time.
I agree with most of that, but the one area where I feel like a quick attack rush player might be better is because you want Celebrini holding onto the puck in that zone. I think, and when you have a Celebrini, like a quicker attack rush defender where Hughes is going to be holding on to all the time, I think that, and you can only have one guy with the puck, I feel like obviously both would be amazing, but a Makar, I think, would play off of Celebrini better, actually. And if you think about Hughes right now, and especially the first 2 games, he's also had a lot of giveaways. And a lot of the giveaways are a result of him holding onto the puck. There's no lanes, and they're closing off those lanes. They clearly studied him, and the where he likes to go and where he likes to move, and he's getting picked off. And they're resulting in rushes the other way. So I don't know. That's just my thought. I think that Celebrini would feed off a rush defender and someone who's moving the puck quicker than Hughes.
I wouldn't rule out Hughes, though, because we saw in the Olympics that Celebrini flourished reading off of McDavid, and McDavid had the puck most of the time. And so I think that's another dimension, actually, to Celebrini's game, that he doesn't need to be the primary puck carrier, and he can just kind of roam and hit his spots, which he can do. But
I agree with that with a forward, but with a defender, the risk is then you result in high turnovers. So you would want your forward to be doing that, carrying more than your defense, generally speaking. Because when you have a giveaway with Celebrini, you have people back covering for him, where if a defender does that, it's much more costly.
Yeah.
So I agree with McDavid that he can play off the puck.
Like
Who does?
They cycle now. Like when those defenders like Makar, Werenski go in deep, they cycle back with a forward.
Yeah.
They know that they're going to do
sure.
it. I get what you're saying, though. There's only one puck and two dudes that are going to rush the puck so well. Maybe you don't need both.
That sounds like.
I think we need to stop with this fancy talk.
Yeah.
We need two dudes, one puck.
So, 2 dudes, 1 puck. But yeah, it would be a great problem to have. We just don't got anybody that can do it right now.
No, Kale. We don't want you, Kale. No. We want Quinn Hughes. No.
We got Celebrini.
We'll take. Hey boys, we're gonna take Raddysh. We'll take Kesselring, whoever else.
Exactly.
We'll take anybody that can play every night.
Who can handle a Celebrini pass.
Yeah.
But Dan, another thing I want to ask you too, actually, is since we kind of talk about these elite defensemen, today they announced Norris finalists, and it was Makar, Dahlin, and Werenski. And a lot of people grousing online about Hughes missing out, Bouchard missing out. And so do you have any just sort of rapid fire thoughts on that?
Bouchard, I'm not mad at. I mean, yes, he's got a billion points, but I've said this before. Points to me don't. It looks pretty and stuff, but the eye test. I didn't like him as a top 3. He's got a bomb of a shot. He's playing with McDavid and Draisaitl. He's going to get his points.
Okay.
But all around game, I don't think that he deserved to be in the top 3 personally.
Can I stop you here really quickly, Dan?
Yep.
So in 2023, do you think that Erik Karlsson should not have won that Norris? 102 points?
Yeah. I didn't like that. I didn't like that as well. What did San Jose?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think a points is. It's obviously going to be a part of it. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be part of it. But, I think. I mean, I think I like Werenski again. I don't see his game as much, but his importance to the team is to me is huge. And I mean, Makar's just. I mean, listen, they're all very good, but so it's Werenski. Oh, and Dahlin I talked about in Buffalo. Dahlin I hadn't seen a lot of, and then when we talked about it on the podcast because I did a game, a TV or a radio game, and I watched Buffalo, and I was like, wow, this guy's pretty good too. So, again, I see these guys 5 times a year versus 82 times a year, so I'm not the best person to ask. And even with Bouchard, again, I haven't seen him a ton. So, but for me, if I had to pick today, I think Werenski probably gets it.
Yeah, if anyone cares, my vote was Werenski. Bouchard. It still shocks me that Bouchard's not a finalist. I didn't think he was going to win, but I mean, yeah.
It shocks me. I'm with you there too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he's had a great season, almost 25 minutes a night. I think he was a plus 25.
He does do
points.
a lot of time on a penalty kill too. So even if he's not, a great
this season in particular,
player,
but he got snubbed off the Olympic team too. He just I
don't
know why.
It's what Dan said. Probably it's just that the eye test, right? Doesn't pass the smell test.
And again, and to his defense, I haven't watched him 82 games a year. Okay, I've probably seen him play 5 times.
Yeah, well, I mean, I haven't either.
And the 5 games that I've watched, I just don't. That's
not a fan.
The eye test doesn't. I'm not saying I'm not a fan. I'm saying I'm not a fan for the Norris.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, he's not on the. He's not in the Makar Hughes tier for you, though.
I think your top. I think your top 3 are Makar, Dahlin, or Makar, Hughes, and probably Werenski are probably the top 3 defensemen in the NHL right now. Dahlin is probably a 4th, but I don't see those guys play very often. So.
Yeah. And Dahlin was my 3rd pick, and Hughes actually wasn't in my top 5, but that wasn't, I mean, Hughes by himself, like, he is to me a top 3 defenseman, but just his season, though, compared to some of these guys, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I'd go with Werenski, too. I just think his game is so complete all the way through. And it's, I don't think he's
only,
before.
and for the fans out there that kind of like shit on me for our little like talk last week about like,
we're trading Michael Misa.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, only because my buddies send me this. I don't look through comments. My buddies love like whenever there's a negative. No, I don't. I don't even know how. He's only 20. He's only. They're like he's old. He's only 20. He's 28. Going to be 29 years old. So.
He's 28. 20.
Yeah. He's not old. 28/29 is not old. I played till I was 40. He can easily have easily another 6 or 7 really good years, assuming he takes care of his body, which I'm sure he does. That's 6-7 more years of Norris worthy hockey. I don't think I don't think it was a bad proposed hypothetical trade as some people made it out to be.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, can I say, though, and I called you out on the Discord that Keegan and I did, and just an announcement that, again, if you guys missed out, that we have now a San Jose Hockey Now Discord channel. There is YouTube perks, too, that you can subscribe to, sign up to. You can see all that, all the details on San Jose Hockey Now, or you can ask us. But anyway, I called you out, Dan, because you were bitching at me about you want to go all in at the trade deadline, Sheng. That's not the right move. And I was like, I don't want to go all in.
That was for the kid in New York.
You want to trade Michael Misa? You want to trade Michael Misa?
It was a hypothetical trade. I hope he makes me look bad. I want him to have a fucking unbelievable year next year.
Hypocrite.
And I hope he does. To me, that's trading an 19-year-old caliber player for a already proven Norris winner trophy. Yeah. I don't think that's trading away the cupboards or the future of your franchise.
It is what we need for sure. And Dan's probably like, what the fuck is a Discord?
Yeah, I don't know what Discord is. And again, this is not to shit on Misa, and I hope he proves me wrong. Not proves me wrong, because I don't think he's going to be a bad player. I think he's going to be a good player. I just think that what the Sharks need right now is that defenseman back there that can play 25 to 30 minutes a night, control the pace of the play, control your power play. And I think
once we get that guy too, the goaltending situation kind of doesn't solve itself, but it starts to get a little bit more short up.
You're going to spend less time in your zone, less shots on net.
For sure.
Blah, 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 blah. Analytics. I think that results in more wins. And
playoffs. There it is. Stanley Cup.
Playoffs. Yeah.
I want to say for the record that I wasn't talking about trading a lot for Panarin. Like, the Kings didn't end up trading a lot for Panarin. Yeah. So they didn't even trade a first. I think it was a third and a good but not great prospect.
And then the other thing, Shanger, the other thing is Panarin's getting paid how much? I mean, we're talking about
11 million.
It was like he ended up getting 2 years and $22 million, which is actually pretty reasonable for a guy. Anyway, that's in the past, Dan. So I forgive you, Dan.
Oh, it's fine.
Actually, I don't forgive you. That's why I brought
it
up on the Discord. But still bitter.
And
bitter for all the online hate that I do read. So
these conversations can only be. We would have to travel back through time, like in time. In 5, 6, 7 years from now, that's when you would go, oh, see, you were right or I was right. Because neither of us know how Misa's going to turn out. We don't know if Werenski's going to be solid for 6, 7 more years. These are hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Well, let's gun it to 88.
I got one quick one for you, Dan. I know we want to talk about the Sharks and the Sharks winning the number 2 pick, but since you watched a lot of Tampa Bay, Montreal, did Darren Raddysh catch your eye? I want to ask you about him in particular because he's a UFA. Yeah. He is the best UFA defenseman out there, besides maybe John Carlson, who actually I might prefer myself, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anyway, what do you think of Darren Raddysh?
Obviously, you can't ignore. Same thing, big bomb from the point. Obviously, love his story that he kind of took him a while to get there. But for me, it's, if I put my GM hat on, which I have to, is how much?
He's not a 7-year guy. I mean, he's 30 years old.
I'm personally not spending $10-11 million on him. Like, I don't even know what the number. Like, that's not what I'm doing personally.
You see him more as maybe a number 2, number 3 defenseman then long term. You don't see him as a number 1 that I'm putting my chips in for, basically.
Again, in his defense, I've only seen a little more of him because I watched the series. But I don't have enough. Yeah, eye test wise, I don't see enough there to warrant a 7 or 8 year, 7-year deal, I guess, with, backing up the truck.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather hold off on that.
Hard to know.
You'd rather trade Michael Misa for Werenski.
Well, I mean, it's hard to know, like, with Raddysh, just because he's such a late bloomer in one system. Like, he's been in Tampa Bay his whole career, pretty much. Like, just that, he's finally getting comfortable, but is he going to do the same thing with Celebrini and Smith? Maybe, but maybe he needs Kucherov and, Gensel and all those guys to really be successful at the level where he's going to command that kind of money. Plus, Hedman seems like, I mean, he did a press conference where he's coming back, right? Or he said he was like...
Yeah, it sounds like he's coming back, actually. He was explaining why he missed time.
But he's old.
Yeah, so
I mean, he's 30, and old is not the right word. He's older. He's 36. Or something like that, right? Yeah, he's 35. Okay. I'm 35, so I can call him old. But anyway, so he's going to be eventually leaving. I just don't see him leaving Tampa. I think they're going to figure it out and he'll sign there. That's just my thought. But you never know.
All right, well, let's talk about the most exciting news. Sharks win the lottery.
Oh, yeah.
Get the number 2 pick. Let's fucking go. So excited. I got a FaceTime from my Toronto fans, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And then the Sharks won it, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Because a lot of them live here, and they're just like, this is unreal.
Yep.
So, I mean, the big question, and I know you guys touched on this a little bit with Craig Button, but me and Dan wanted to share some thoughts, too, and hear from you guys. What do the Sharks do with their number 2 pick? So, obviously, if they choose to keep it, which I think is likely to happen, who do they pick? And then if they choose to trade it, Werenski.
Trade for Werenski.
Or, yeah, right? Exactly.
Poor 18-year-old kid. Dan Boyle is just trying to trade you all over the place.
Well, he's not a Shark yet, right? You trade the pick. He's not a Shark. You're not attached.
That's true. Fair.
You're not attached.
Fair.
Before you guys answer, I do want to say thank you to all the people who watched our live stream. We had almost 800 people watching at some point, which, Dan, people actually watch the show, which is kind of...
Actually, I know. Like I told you guys, I've been recognized like the last couple months of the year. I would go in and do... I did a couple of TV stuff, and I hey, Dan Boyle, yeah. I'm like, hey, I thought... And they'd be like, love the podcast, man. I'm like, you guys listen to this shit? I got stopped like at least I would say 10 times in like a couple months. Like walking down Los Gatos, my beautiful little town, and hey, boy, I love the podcast. I'm like, what?
Yes.
What the fuck is going on?
And everybody who's been here since the beginning, it's only getting better. So,
that's thanks to you guys. You guys do all the hard work. I just come in and chime in and piss people off and
Keep stirring the pot, baby. Keep stirring the pot.
Yes, thank you guys for watching the live stream.
So yeah, so I would trade the second overall pick for Werenski because you are basically taking a known factor in a I'm sure there would be like wrinkles to that trade, but you're getting a Norris caliber trophy player, which we need for an unknown, and that's why I'm doing it.
So in your tier, Dan, I think we talked about this in the earlier segment, but like you're like elite cream of the crop defenseman. We're talking Makar, Hughes, Werenski, maybe Dahlin. Who else is kind of like, I personally like Heiskanen a lot. That's me. But anyway, like who is kind of in your cream of the cream, crop,
Yeah, I mentioned the 3 guys earlier. I think Dahlin as well. I mean, yeah, Niskanen's good. But again, this is because of where the Sharks are today. Now, if the Sharks were where they were 5 or 6 years ago, which meant they were 7 or 8 years away from a playoff team, then I'm not going to grab Panarin. I'm not going to grab.
Sure, of course.
I'm not going to grab Werenski 5 or 6 years ago. This is only coming to fruition now because Macklin Celebrini took this team on his shoulders this year, made me not a believer that they were going to make the playoffs, but maybe a believer that this team is now not 4 or 5 years away, but they're 2 to 3 years away. So that is why I want to bring in the defenseman now. Because if they were 5-6 years away from a playoff run, I would say there's no way I'm giving up Misa. There's no way I'm giving up the second round pick or second overall pick, because why give that up for a defenseman that's going to be really good, but you're still on a non-playoff team? I don't care if he's got 100 points and you don't make the playoffs. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to win a cup.
I think for myself, the number 2 pick, and I don't think that Werenski is available, so let's be clear about that.
That's all hypothetical.
Columbus, yeah. Columbus was close to the playoffs, and they're bringing back Rick Bowness, I believe, who's going to work their asses hard based on his
Werenski might want out, though.
Werenski
might want out.
I still love that Keegan watched all the closing interviews.
I was like, I want this guy. Get him to San Jose.
CSI, watching CSI.
I was like, how angry does Werenski look? Does he look? Is there sadness in his eyes? Can we get him here?
But I think I would trade the number 2 for Werenski if that was, or as the centerpiece for Werenski. I wouldn't trade Misa. I think Misa is better than who they'll pick at number 2, at least right now. Better than Stenberg, better than any of the defensemen. That's my gut right now. That's, talking to people, my feel on it. So that's, but so I wouldn't trade Misa, but I would consider Hart if it was the number 2 pick. And to kind of move forward the conversation, we can talk about Werenski still too, but like another guy who might be available, just because his team is terrible, even though he has complete power over his situation, is Adam Fox. I would not trade the number 2 for Adam Fox because he's not in the cream of the crop. He is a number 1 defenseman, but he's like kind of like outside looking in kind of a little bit.
What about if you this is all hypothetical, of course, but if like the number 4 or 5 team wants that Stenberg, how do I pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you pronounce
it? Stenberg, yeah, Stenberg.
So like a 4 or 5 wants to jump ahead 2 or 3 spots, then you make a trade and you get to pick probably a defenseman, like is it Reid or you get, know, and you get something for it to just move back a couple spots. I don't know if that's going to be part of the situation where.
Yeah, I think that could be very conceivable.
If you're not sold on Stenberg, you go back 3, you get a couple possible like right away of players that are going to be effective, and then you get maybe your Reid or there's another defenseman I wrote
Carels,
about mock draft.
Carels, Verhoeff, those are the.
So then you get him
guys,
at 5. You get him at 5. And then you get some, a couple more players that, again, make the Sharks be a team to be reckoned with in 2 years versus 4 or 5.
You might be...
The crazy thing...
I was going to say, you might do something like Chicago at 4, right? Because Chicago wants a guy to pair with Bedard. They're looking for a forward. So if you're trying to find a partner, that'd be them. And then at 4, you're right. Like you could choose one of Reid or Carels, whoever's there, and plus whatever they give you. But so it's a thought, but I feel like it never happens, right? That's the thing that we always think is going to happen. Somebody will trade down, and then it just never occurs.
It sounds good on paper, but it doesn't happen. I don't know if it has happened. I think people have looked into it. It happens rarely if it does happen. But I think the crazy thing that is conceivable, because McKenna isn't the unanimous number 1, it seems like. He's the consensus, but he's not like the no doubt number 1 like Celebrini was, like Bedard was, like Schaefer was. That somehow Toronto passes on him for just whatever reason. That suddenly is a crazy decision for the Sharks. And McKenna will be very desirable to other teams too, I think, even more so than Stenberg maybe in general. Obviously, so anyway, that could be a crazy trade back or something situation.
Total random aside. Have you guys ever watched Draft Day, the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
I love that movie.
No.
I just watched that after the
You haven't watched that?
I haven't seen it.
No, I have. No,
you guys,
I was like,
Zubair, you haven't watched Draft Day?
I have not.
No, I haven't either.
That movie is the stupidest movie ever. You guys need to watch it.
It's unbelievable. It's
I'm a big Kevin
unbelievable.
Costner fan too.
Kevin Costner.
Draft Day.
I love Kevin
Costner is a great movie.
It's like a Moneyball kind of thing.
Dude, no,
it's literally the day of the draft. The day of the draft, and he's the GM.
I need to give this movie away just so these guys know how stupid this movie is.
Don't give it away.
Don't watch it.
Don't give it away.
Don't give it away.
It's a one-day movie about a draft. Kevin Costner, man.
I love Kevin Costner. He's like cilantro.
No, it's good bad. It's not bad.
I'm gonna look up,
bad.
Is it ridiculous because it's the NFL and we don't understand the trades, or are they just like horrible?
No. The trades are understandable. They're just ridiculous. So just watch it. Just watch it. I won't.
I'm gonna look at Rotten Tomatoes. I'm gonna look at Rotten Tomatoes. You guys keep talking.
Okay.
It's not high. It's not high. The movie is inconceivable.
So it's worse than Moneyball.
Moneyball's unreal.
No, I know.
No, Moneyball's
I
great.
love
Yeah,
Moneyball.
Moneyball is actually good movies. Yes, it is more inexplicable and silly than Moneyball.
I see.
Oh, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
But though it is no. It's a great movie.
All right, how about this?
Okay,
You two guys watch this movie, and the next podcast we'll have a little 3-minute conversation about it.
There you go.
Deal.
Done.
Draft
watch it. Yeah, please
Draft
watch
day.
it.
Kevin
I want to talk
Costner.
about a movie.
You watched this right
No,
after the
Dan.
lottery, you said, Sheng?
No, yeah, Dan. I actually like that movie. It's good, great background. Yes.
Oh, it's
after
fucking
the
great.
draft lottery, after our Discord chat, I had the feeling like, hey, you know what? I want to watch Draft Day.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why actually was because it was on cable. But and I was like, oh, I don't want to watch on cable because there's all kinds of commercials.
Yeah.
And so I was like, is it streaming anywhere? And it wasn't. It's like, God damn it, I got to watch it on cable.
Oh yeah.
And so there's like, commercials like interspersed throughout it. So
Good way
I
to
was kind
fall
of
asleep.
annoyed.
Great
But
movie. You guys will like it. You won't fall asleep. You will not fall
Really?
asleep.
All right.
All right.
It is.
Keegan and I will get caught up.
It is a awful, great, a bad good movie.
It's a good movie, and no one is going to be sewn ass. No one's going to be sewn ass to mouth at the end. Okay?
Thank God.
It is not a good movie.
Kevin Costner will not have his mouth on someone's ass. I will.
I know.
I will give
those
that
trades
away.
are ridiculous. Those trades are
Or will
ridiculous.
he?
Or will he? You can never tell.
So I have to say I would not trade the number 2 pick.
All right.
Okay.
So and
Zubair was the lone holdout, or it was me. We wouldn't trade Misa for Werenski. So
yes,
why not the number 2?
Because I still think that Celebrini alone can't lead you to a cup. You need these other guys to develop. And even if you get a Werenski, I think the window for me is still 2030 for the other prospects that are coming up to be ready. But, this is a dynasty potentially team if you build it the right way that could compete for the next 10, 15 years. I think if you construct it correctly, and I think leveraging those assets like this number 2 pick could be huge. And that leads me to my answer of what do you do with the number 2 pick? And my answer is Reid or Smits.
Nice.
And obviously that's considering McKenna is taken first. To your point, if plural Sundin, Matt's Sundin, I hate the S every time. I just like, are there multiple? Like, what's going on?
Alberts.
Matt's
Albert
Sundin.
Call Matty Sundin. Matty Sundin.
Smits.
Albert
Yeah.
Smits. Too many S's.
If he ends up like, choosing his hometown buddy, right? Like going with Stenberg, great. It makes sense to me. McKenna's available. I think you take McKenna. I think the asset value he brings is too high. He has the potential of being like a Kucherov light, the way he sees the game creatively, changes the pace up and down. And what he did in college, he really improved in the areas, his physical consistency, off-ice work in the second half. He was dialed. He was focused. I think that kid's legit. He really proved it to me in the second half. But let's say they take him. I think when you think about Chase Reid, even just basic attributes, he's bigger, he skates better, he shoots better. Just again, considering that Greer said what he said, best player on the board, I think that's your clear-cut answer is Reid over Stenberg. Even isolated from picking positionally, just in terms of attributes, skill sets, hockey IQ, skating ability, size, I don't see how you could pass up on him. And I think a lot of people are doing what they do if you look at all the scouting things, and Stenberg's ranked higher in a lot of them. And that's because at this moment he's better, but defensemen just take longer to develop. And there's a reason why the 3 defensemen we talked about, Werenski, Quinn Hughes, Makar, number 4 pick, number 7 pick, number 8th pick overall. These guys now in hindsight would go number 1 in those draft classes. So, I think that Reid is your answer, and you also solve the positional part, but that's not my rationale as to why. I think he's a better player than Stenberg, and I think he brings more asset value because a right-handed defenseman is just asset value worth more and more rare in this league.
I'm looking up second overall picks in the last 10 years, and you got Nemec, Nemec, I guess.
Nemec.
You know, you got Berniers, you got Kako, you got Sveshnikov, Patrick in Philadelphia. Are you trading any of those guys for frickin' Werenski? You are.
Mm-hmm.
You're not?
Oh, yeah.
I think he is.
Absolutely. No, I guess my point is you don't know if the number 2 overall is going to be a stud. Like Leo Carlson is 2023, right? He's obviously proving.
Oh, he's a stud, yeah.
But then if you look at Nemec, Berniers, I mean, Byfield's, you know, depending on.
No, you're right.
But Kako should. Like, if you look at the last 2 overall picks in the last 10 years, and if you go a little further, yes, you got your Jack Eichel. That's great. But
that's a different draft, too. Yeah. 2015, 2023 are like the really, really great drafts too. So that's hard to compare.
The deeper drafts, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's
a solid point too.
I wanted to add though to Zubair's point that I do think that right now, just looking at the online discourse, that like people are I don't think that the difference between Stenberg and a defenseman is that wide as some people are trying to make it. So when you talk about the best player available argument, there is, I'm not saying that it's definitively for the defenseman either, but I'm just saying that like there is a good argument that your best player available is going to be a Chase Reid or a Carels is a guy that I'm hearing a lot. And so this is not number 1 pick, turn off your brain, Celebrini, no question, like Stenberg at number 2, which some fans seem to be taking. Like I wrote an article yesterday for NBC just mentioning 7 prospects that the Sharks should consider at number 2. I'm not saying the Sharks should draft. And I got one response. It was like, this is clickbait. There's no question who the number 2 is. I was like, are you sure? And I'm not trying to be like a dick about it. Just like it doesn't seem, just already talking with some people, some scouts, people in the industry, that this is not a clear-cut number 2.
True.
This isn't like Thornton Marlowe. Even Thornton Marlowe, going back in the day, that was clear-cut. There was a 1 and there was a 2.
Malkin,
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah.
That's. I don't think this is it though. So
and to your point, I think a lot of what the scouting and central scouting is looking at is who's most NHL ready now, and that's Stenberg. I think that like transition into the NHL, I think he'll be quicker, but fast forward 2-3 years, I think that's what you're looking at. So I think a lot of that conversation is about who's most NHL ready, and that brings my point to Smits as well. I think amongst all the defensemen, I think Smits is the most NHL ready.
But
I agree with that.
And aren't you basing that off of scouts and people you don't even know? Like I've never seen any of those players, so. How do you? I mean,
I'm watching tape.
You guys watch Reid play?
Yeah.
You guys have seen him play?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys.
I haven't seen him play much, right? I've just talked to people who have seen him
play.
But
the people that comment and stuff, like we don't know. Even I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know McKenna. I don't even know McKenna. I've never even seen
I watch him. I would say Smits.
Keegan and I are watching tape.
Yeah. I would say Smits is, like you said, the most NHL ready. He's also playing against like men in the German league. He played in the Olympics.
And Olympics too.
He's big enough, fast enough, strong enough to start in the NHL. It's just, I think that people won't Reid because of that right-handedness, that upside, and he does have a little bit more special qualities.
And Polkamp is a lefty or a righty? Is he a lefty or a righty? Righty, okay.
Yeah,
he's a righty.
And Cagnoni is a lefty.
Will he be on the opening night roster, Sheng?
Who?
Polkamp. Correct, Polkamp.
Well, you also had to see what they do this offseason. If they sign Raddysh and trade for Werenski, maybe not, right?
So,
but
one of Polkamp or Cagnoni, probably, I would say. But
one of them.
Yeah, probably one of them. I don't think both of them, but yeah.
So one more thing too is think about how Morehouse and company have been drafting.
Yeah,
they love defensemen that can skate. And I don't think there's a better skating defenseman in the pool than Chase Reid. But that being said, too,
I mean, most of them can skate though in the top 5. So the top 5 defensemen.
There's a noticeable difference in Reid and his skating ability. I mean, the other thing is the reason I like Smits a lot, and I wouldn't ride him out, is he reminds me a lot of like Sider.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask for the people that are listening and watching, and including myself. Compare Reid and Smits to current defensemen because I don't know. I've never seen these guys play.
So. Yeah.
So who would you compare these two guys to?
What's a good comp for
Well, Craig Button helped us out with
Reid and
with
Werenski are honestly like the closest because like they're both great skating defensemen that like one's righty and lefty, so that's the only problem. But
so Reid is compared to Werenski, and then who is Smits compared to?
Cider
is who I would
and then
comp him to.
Carels is another one. Carels, I see McAvoy,
or even like Dickinson in his draft
maybe.
here too. They both look very similar, very solid overall. 200-foot game, but maybe not the most exciting is Carels. That's why it depends on the person.
Or exciting as Reid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like he's not as exciting as like Reid and Smits and stuff.
Okay.
And then Verhoeff's the other one. He's the only one that really has Ekblad or a little bit like slower feet than the other guys. Like noticeable difference in skating.
6'4".
Yeah. But still great. He's just a little slower, and he started off super high in the year. Right? He's like supposed to be number 2, number 3 overall, and then he's kind of fallen. And
he's supposed to be the top defenseman.
Yeah, and scouts kind of get wary of that kind of thing when they're not living up to their expectations. And he played okay in college, but it was a little bit behind in some areas. So that's why he kind of tumbled down to that 5 to 10 range instead of top 5 or whatever. So I would choose Reid if I had to say it for the Sharks. But like I think that like Stenberg overall, like I like Stenberg better, but Reid is like in the board that I created is 3, Stenberg's 2. So.
Stenberg is 5'10" though, isn't he?
He's like 5'11".
He's 5'11", but he's like more stout and strong.
He's like sturdy.
Is he a Dan Boyle 5'11", or is he an actual 5'11"?
No, I'd say
I was 5'11" too when I played.
I'd say
so. Is he actually 5'11"?
Yeah, I think he is.
Okay.
We'll see at the combine, but I'd say he's probably 5'11", and he's he's good on the boards. He's not like a perimeter big player. He does his work, like his best work off the perimeter, but he's a very good board.
And who would you compare him to in the NHL currently?
Landeskog.
We said this one before. Landeskog. Sometimes Raymond gets brought up.
Dan, just so you know, he's 18-year-old in the SHL.
Yes.
And playing against men, he scored 33 points, which is the 5th highest for an 18-year-old in SHL history. So to give him his flowers,
and second highest.
He's a better skater than Landeskog, though.
He's what
he has better puck control and skating than Landeskog.
It's just a comp.
But I would say
too.
The one thing that when I watch Stenberg play, he really benefits from the wider ice.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how that's going to transition to North American ice because he uses that space more than he should. I know you said he was good in the boards. I don't. When I watch him in the boards, I feel like he peels off, moves into open space, and kind of avoids contact, and he has that space to do it. I wonder how that's going to translate. I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah,
there might be a larger transition to the NHL than from what I see than I've heard about his scouting reports. Just because he's great flying up the ice, but that ice is gone in North America.
Yeah,
that's 13 feet wider. Like,
we'll see.
By the way, aren't we getting McDavid? I read that.
Yeah, that's a good transition. Yeah, let's
and Matthews
and Matthews
or 6'7" or
I read we're giving up the 2nd overall pick, Askarov
and Michael Misa
That's the most ridiculous thing. All of these internet rumors, like. I've been on the internet of hockey for so long that the person who made that rumor has been like spewing shit for like 16 years. Not even joking, since like 2010.
No. I used to write for
really?
Hockey Buzz.
Holy shit!
I did. I wrote for Hockey Buzz in 2015.
Jesus.
I wrote about the Kings for Hockey Buzz, and then actually when I covered the Vegas Golden Knights, their expansion year, that was for
it's
Hockey
Buzz. Kind of like the big joke of the internet.
No, it is though. I mean, yeah,
you just spew shit.
Yeah, that's a pretty crazy rumor, but I guess we should just talk about it though, just for fun though. I mean, like we do know with Matthews, or at least it's been reported that maybe he's a little unsure if he wants to go back to Toronto, or he's not sure about the direction, right? And so there was I'm not gonna say it's rumored as in like it has legs, but like people are kind of just speculating like, hey, number 2 pick and Michael Misa for Matthews. And of course, Matthews just followed Celebrini on Instagram like 3 days ago, so perfect timing. And Celebrini followed him back, so that's hilarious. And then obviously with McDavid, the Oilers just got eliminated. They are both Matthews and McDavid are going to be free agents in 2028. So kind of don't know their directions long term with their teams. And then the one we're talking about with McDavid, the Eklund hockey buzz rumor. It's not William Eklund, but anyway,
EK.
Yeah,
EK.
It's I don't even want to get into all the package. I didn't even read the article because I know there's nothing to it, but like it's like a Askarov and Misa and probably the number 2 picks in there too.
And then you're gonna need
I guess the general. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say you're gonna need to pay 2 guys basically like $35 million, which will be a third of your salary. So
yeah.
Which is fine, but it's really these guys are going to be free agents in 2 years. Why would you trade the farm for a position you don't need?
There's not a lot of teams that win with percentage of cap in that many players.
No.
They just don't win in the league.
It's tough.
So I don't know. I think that's a good point too. It's like if you have Macklin and either Matthews or McDavid taking 1/3 of your salary cap, you can't build a team around that.
No.
And one of them gets injured, in a playoff run. Too many eggs in one basket.
Well, we don't know that though. I mean, we're jumping to conclusions that if they were to come, that they would demand like now they're worth like 17, 18 million. Maybe they wouldn't, right? That's like I said with Macklin and his extension. Is he going to take a little bit less? If McDavid were to come here. Like, I don't assume that McDavid's going to demand 17 million or something like that. Maybe he recognizes McDavid wants to win. So I guess my general question to you guys is there any argument to kind of trade that kind of package for another star forward? I don't think there is, but just no.
We have too many.
Even Miss McDavid, so.
No. Yeah, no. Like, wait for 2 years and see if he wants to come over. That's it.
Yeah.
Edmonton is continuing to shoot themselves in the foot repeatedly with all of their moves. So it feels like.
Well, won't that be fun though?
No, yeah, we sign him rather than giving up everybody. But like Dan said, it's hard to make
even if you give up a lot of stuff for him, though, it'd still be fun.
It's hard to make
then you're going to be like the Edmonton Oilers, where you got 2 of the best forwards in the league, but your goaltending's average, and you get in the playoffs, and they've had a couple cup runs, but. Their goaltending is Tristan Jarry and who's started in their last game?
Ingram, probably.
Ingram, yeah. So it's like then you're not. Goaltending is obviously a very important part of it.
Plot twist: you take them, put them in net, or play D.
Well, one of my favorite, and actually I asked Dan about this a month ago and after the Olympics, and it's actually conceivable because of how good he is. I think I'll come out with this article over the summer, but I started wondering watching the Olympics for some reason. I don't know why I started wondering this. It was like, could the Sharks move? Is Macklin good enough to play defense? Is he kind of like Fedorov? And I was like, I actually, like, of everybody out there, like kind of like in. I think it's the most conceivable with Macklin. And I asked Dan about it, and I asked my friend Kathy's power skating about it. And it's actually, both of them kind of said, yeah, it's actually conceivable. You know who I asked about it? That kind of just gave me a blank look, but I think he understood after a while was Dmitry Orlov. And the reason why I asked Dmitry Orlov is because Orlov is Russian, and he's familiar with Fedorov and the Russian 5 and all that kind of stuff, right? And Orlov actually said seriously, and I'm not sure if Orlov was just humoring me, but Orlov was like, yeah, I think he could do it.
It's just ridiculous. He needs to
I'm not saying he would do it. I'm just saying that,
could he? Yes, he could, but
I mean, he has I think the hockey sense and the physical makeup and the skating.
Could he? Yes. Or do we need to be talking about? No, he doesn't need to.
No, we don't need to talk about it. No,
shout out to
it's a summer article.
Shout out to Brent Burns for like cooking it up with Colorado, and I think they're up 2-0 now, right? You probably talked about this before we got on, but
we did.
Good old Burnsy. And speaking of forwards, defense kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I was there.
Yeah, it was the year he came to us, and then he played up front the next year. He played with Jumbo, which obviously helped, but.
Yeah, and he just put his big body out there and made plays.
Yeah.
But
ripping pucks to the net all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about that he won on Norris as a D afterwards. It's kind of strange.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump to talking about the lottery, and then Toronto wins it. Totally rigged.
Yeah.
Rigged.
Rigged for San Jose too. So
I like the rigging.
Yeah.
But no, some interesting media questions from Steve Simmons. Sheng, do you want to introduce that topic real quick?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know, Dan, if you watched it, but we might need to recap it for Dan a little bit. But
I
obviously,
did.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
The Chayka,
Yeah. Let's redo this segment. We'll cut this out and I'll intro you again. But yeah, I talked to Dan about it. So
did you actually watch Steve Simmons asking him questions? I think that's important.
I read the article that it was uncomfortable, and I also read. I didn't know who it was, but saying how he was like a shyster, like a
con
shady
artist.
Since we have like 15 minutes, you want to send Dan the clip really fast? I think it's worth it because it's really like it's what he asked, the specific words, and just the uncomfortableness of the stage that is kind of, like a big part of it. So like we'll try to send you the Twitter clip really fast just so you can watch it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look for it so we can all look for it and try to send it to Dan.
So basically, it's them. Somebody, a Toronto reporter, saying like, Lily basically telling this guy that he's shady.
He's like, why did you? He's
like, why did you do this? I think I told you.
He's like his introductory press conference though.
And then he was like, "Hey, I talked to 20 people in the league, all well respected.
It's right here. I
19 of them said,
"I'll send it to Dan.
This is a bad decision." And I did my due diligence. I would assume you guys did your due diligence as an organization. What's up?
So who did they? This guy asks. Chayka.
He asked Keith Pelly, who is like
so
Jonathan Becker of all this. He's the president. But anyway, it's a minute clip. It's worth watching. So
I'm gonna watch it right now.
We'll kind of we'll kind of.
And then that way I can.
Listen, I'm quite happy with where we've.
That's pretty good.
That's insane.
All right, so Dan, you've had some. I'll start again. So Dan, you've had some run-ins with the media before, and we got Shangers here as well. And so I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Steve Simon's skewering Chayka. Sorry, I'll do more time. So Dan, you've had your run-ins with the media, and we got Shangers here as well. So Steve Simmons skewering Chayka. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Dan, you just saw the clip.
Yeah, I just saw.
What do you guys think?
I had read about it, but seeing the clip was actually made me laugh. Like you said, I've had a couple run-ins with the media. So, yeah, that's. I did watch a TSN kind of like after the press conference, and they were like, yeah, it was uncomfortable in there. And now I see why. This guy who does his due diligence, we don't know who he spoke to. He doesn't mention it, but that 19 of the 20 people he spoke to are telling the New York Yankees of the hockey world, the Toronto Maple Leafs, that they hired a fraud and a con artist. And yeah, the response is like, pretty uncomfortable. So we're gonna keep our eye on that and see what happens moving forward. But that was fun TV right there. That was interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I do think that was not the way to ask it though by Steve Simmons, and I respect that Steve. Like, I think the question had to be asked in some kind of way, but I'm not sure why it needed all those shots at Chayka, who's just sitting right there. Very 50 Cent meme like, well, you mad at me? What the fuck did I do? And yeah, I think I think that the base of what he said, that the move is deeply unpopular with Maple Leafs fans, that there are a lot of people in the hockey community that, had a lot of negative things to say. Like, you could have said that, but without just that kind of, I don't know, like that almost makes it about Steve Simmons in some way too, which is, I don't think the job as a reporter.
Reporters do like to do that, Cheng. Reporters do like to make it about themselves. I know a couple.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be though. No, it shouldn't
you're
be.
Right,
though,
you're right. It was not. It was not said properly. I don't think, I enjoyed it from sitting over here. But certainly for himself, for Chayka or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, if you go, you've been in the. You sat on the podium, and if it's after a playoff game or after you were signed or something like that, and I've talked to people, and they say that Dan Boyle is cancer in the locker room, etc. Said all these words, and not even talking to you directly, but talking to the guy sitting next to you about it.
Well, they handled it a lot better than I would have. Let me tell you that.
I talked to 20 people. 19 of them said Boilers has horrible taste in films.
Yeah,
disgusting.
Shop Day is actually a good movie.
Did you watch Men, by the way, Zubair? Did you watch Men?
Like I said, dude, I love a good A24.
Did you watch Men? Did you watch it?
I want. No, I have not seen it yet.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
But I need the confirmation. Does it have the signature naked senior citizen like any good A24 film? Okay, sweet.
Sorry, there's a movie I told him to watch the other night. It's called Men.
Oh, dude, every A24 film. It's not an A24 without a naked senior citizen.
Yeah.
Is this supposed to be a draw, or is this
for anyone?
I
don't know what this has to do with Keith Pelly and Steve Simmons, but it does seem actually strangely related. So,
yeah. That's anyways. When you guys watch the movie Men, we'll talk about it. It's got a pretty interesting.
Well, Listers is still on our list.
Listing.
You guys want to watch Listers?
Yeah. Well, the dudes that got
I
don't know if you guys heard about the hantavirus epidemic. The dudes that did that were bird watching in a landfill in Argentina. It's not an epidemic yet. Oh, but it's like there's a bunch of people who got hantavirus.
Oh, wow.
They're bird watching. In a landfill in Argentina.
Dangerous sport.
Yeah,
right?
They got it.
You get that
they got it from rat droppings in a landfill because they're off there looking for, I don't know, buzzards, whatever you find in a landfill.
I don't know. Going back to the Steve Simmons, Chayka, and Keith Pelly thing, though. I mean, a lot of fans do ask for like, hey, I mean, I read comments like, oh, you're being way too soft on Werenski, on whoever, right? And like, is this what you guys as fans want? Like, you want confrontation? I'm just asking. I'm being serious though. I know it's entertaining. Like, if it's not like your guys, but do you want me to be confrontational with Macklin, with Werenski? Like, WTF? Well, Barclay Goodrow, Ryan Werenski, which people seem to want.
Reality TV, which I watch, is like that's what it's based on. It's drama. What's the biggest freaking story out there right now? It's on Summer House, which I watch because two couples are banging to each other's exes, and like, or I watch Vanderpump Rules, like freaking,
I feel like we need to talk about this the next episode.
Are you watching Real Housewives of Rhode Island? I live in Rhode Island.
That I haven't started, but
you gotta watch it.
I'll get on that. Yeah. So us players being on the other side of it, that's not what we want, especially and it's 3 minutes after we come in after a game. But I just, for me, the reporters, and I played 18 years, and 97% of them I did not have a problem with. To this day, I still have 10, 15 guys that will text me occasionally. I still have good relationships with those guys. I don't like what you said earlier, Sheng, when the reporters make it about themselves, either to get clickbait or to somehow that's the problem. And that's why I had a problem with Larry, because it felt like it was about him and not about the team or me. It was personal. And I think there's a fine line there where you want to report about the team, you want to report about a specific incident or whatever. You have every right. That's your job. But don't make it about yourself. Don't make it about clickbait or bullshit. So that's
I wonder if sorry if I can jump in, Zubair, one more before because I know you watched a little more of Steve Simmons, like him explaining kind of why he did what he did, but like I feel like you could ask the question and again not make it about yourself, like give the other person a chance to answer, like Keith, this move seems deeply unpopular with the fan base. Can you talk about that? And then follow up, like, around the industry, there are a lot of, contrasting very negative things said about John Chayka, to be honest. What do you have to say about that? And if Pelly really wants to dig in and ask some of those specific things, then okay, maybe then you do cite. One thing that a lot of people bring up is I don't doubt that Steve Simmons talked to 20 people high up in hockey about it. Like, that guy has been in Toronto forever, hockey capital of the world. And I've met Steve before too. Like, I don't doubt that, like, these are all like you know, he's talking to legit people and maybe very, very high up people. If we actually knew who they were, we were like, oh shit, he said that about Chayka. So I don't doubt that part of it, but still though, yeah, like, you know, 19 and 20 is still, it's still not like, it's a good sample, but it's not like you can completely bury a guy on it. So anyway, though, Zubair.
Yeah, no, I think that's just a really good way of phrasing it, Sheng. I think that the way that you phrased it to actually get an answer instead of just, you know, I think that the way he did it, there's not a lot of space for them to actually respond, which makes it you wonder if he's actually looking for, you know, a journalistic response. But to that point too, I also think it's important to note the differences in just culture. Like Canadian media is significantly different than American media. I was in post game with the Oilers, and was it Mark Spector?
Yeah, Mark Spector. Yeah, Mark Spector.
It was so uncomfortable. He was like drilling Nurse.
Yeah, Darnell Nurse.
And then it's on our Instagram, by the way, if you guys want to see the interviews. And then after that, it went to Draisaitl, and you could just see it on their faces. And I was in there in the locker room, like, exactly like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. And I don't think there was a lot of space. But then I started to get, you know, as I was doing more of this, you realize that, like, that's just Canadian markets are also just different in that way. So I think there's also a cultural difference in how it's treated. But not to make it right. But I don't know, Dan, you would know better about that and Shangers about that difference. But Canadian media is ruthless.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, New York too, right? Like, I think that you're made by your marketplace to some degree. Like, there is a demand for a guy to like to stir the pot like that in a New York, right? Not to defend, you know, like whatever went on with you and Larry Brooks, you know, rest in peace, Larry. But like Steve Simmons in Toronto, Speck in Edmonton. You know, I know Vancouver has had their guys like that too, right? Montreal for sure, right? Like, but there is maybe a desire from the fan base for somebody like that, whereas maybe less so in the San Jose. So
yeah,
it is such a strange hire, though. Like Chayka got hired at what, 26 as a GM for the Coyotes, and as a former 26-year-old, I was a fucking idiot at 26. And then he did like a really shit job for like 5 years. And that's like, that's me paraphrasing his tenure. There were some good things. There were some bad things, but it was not great. Like the Coyotes didn't do a whole lot of good things in 5 years.
I got to take 30 seconds to give a shout out to my ex-teammate, Kevin Adams.
Nice.
Put that Buffalo team together.
Oh, yeah.
They shipped his ass out. They ship him out. And now his team's...
And now he's a hot commodity. He's gonna get hired. Probably.
Is he? Oh, I haven't read any of that. Okay,
his name's going around as possibility.
I want to give a quick little shout out because he took a beating in Buffalo, and for a good reason. They missed the playoffs for a billion years, but he's got his footprint on a lot of those players that are putting that team.
Buffalo is one of those passionate markets too. That's true. Where there seems to be a little bit of a
shout out to Kevin Adams.
Yeah. But yeah, so then he gets suspended by the league for like a period of time, and then he's out of hockey for 5 years. Chayka does, not Kevin Adams. And he's and then now he's back, and it's just like, well, you're leading the biggest NHL franchise. Congratulations. And at what, 36? So I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. He's a smart guy, obviously, and there's a huge analytics and statistics background with him and Megan, so it makes sense for them to go in a new direction, especially with Matt Sundin as like the other half of the two-headed Toronto monster.
Yeah, I should mention this too on this podcast that I do work with StatLeaks, which is Megan Chayka's company. So in full disclosure, but I also think though that it's a little early to bury Chayka.
He won the first overall pick. He's a genius.
Exactly. But I think it's a little. I mean, I think that Arizona wasn't great, but it wasn't like so awful that, well, you know, we're going to bury him completely. And honestly, like, I do wonder where there wasn't as smoke from people around the league when Joe Quenneville got hired by Anaheim. And even though Joe Quenneville's NHL resume is greater, obviously, than John Chayka's, what happened at the end with Quenneville and Kyle Beach under his watch was way worse than anything that Chayka, fake computers on, testing that lost the Coyotes draft picks, angling for a job before, Chayka, I mean, Arizona, angling for a job while he's still with the Coyotes. Whatever happened under Quenneville there, precisely how much of it was Quenneville's fault, all that stuff. I understand that stuff. And I know Quenneville is a great coach too. I don't doubt that too. But like, that's way worse than
Well, you're not wrong, but that's where your track record and resume matters, and this is just a reality, I think, of the world.
Oh, it's fair.
What you're allowing to accept, like, off the record. I mean, just think about like Michael Jackson versus R. Kelly. Like, Michael's catalog is so good that people forget. But like R. Kelly, like X, even though, it's like if the art or the quality of the body of work is good enough and, people are willing to forget, the shameless acts, like, unforgivable acts in many ways. It's just what I've observed in the world. I don't agree with it, but
I was, my Mike Patton was on Kimmel last night, so I watched it. I don't watch Kimmel, but Mike Tyson was on there. And he was fucking beloved.
Yeah.
Like, they were just like, Mike, and it was
he raped a woman.
And
he was
Mike,
convicted of that.
Mike did some fucked up shit. And he is
for sure
very well received today. So you're 100% right.
Yeah, it's weird.
Zubair, though, I wanted to ask you, though, more about, to give Steve Simmons a little, a fair shot here, though. What did Steve have to say about it?
Yeah, he said basically, it wasn't about him. His track record speaks for itself. He's just asking.
It wasn't about Chayka's track. What do you mean?
Yeah, like his track record as a journalist. Like, he's I never make it about me. It was really an authentic question where, I'm trying to genuinely get this out. I did my due diligence, and the consensus was pretty strong. The quality of his resources, obviously he can't reveal, but he said they were high, and
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he was just doing his job as a journalist to be like, I literally have no idea what you guys are doing here. This is, and he was like, if you hear any undertones, essentially, it's because I genuinely am shocked by this decision, based on my due diligence. And he said he didn't even know who Chayka was. So he started, as a journalist, researching the details and his track record and his resume, as Keegan spoke to, and was more befounded as to why this was a decision made by, to Boyler's point, the Yankees of hockey.
Yeah.
So in such an important position. So,
guys,
I will say,
I got to bail, guys, and I apologize for the coughing.
Yeah.
I'm a little under the weather, so we'll do this again.
Well, one last question for you, Dan.
Yes, sorry.
Have you seen the 30 on 30? Speaking of con artists, no, I'm just kidding. But have you guys ever seen the 30 for 30 Big Shot? About how someone purchased the New York Islanders?
Islanders owner, John
Spano?
John Spano.
Purchased what?
Dude, a con man basically purchased the New York Islanders.
No, I haven't seen
no
that.
money. Dude, it's an unreal
it's an old one. Yeah,
documentary.
Yeah,
really? All right.
30 for 30 Big Shot. Watch it on the plane.
All right, check that out. See you guys.
See you,
later, boys.
Ciao.
See you, man.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I think with, how Simmons explains it is fair. He's doing his. Yeah, I think if I were to say for him, and I could say it because I'm in a position a lot, like when you do get a chance, obviously before a big press, I don't know. In a press conference like this, I guess I would say that Steve did have a chance to kind of form his questions. And so because I was going to say that a lot of times in our job, people underrate that you got to ask something rapid fire.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have time to think about it. Like, one thing that a lot of fans got mad at me about this year, but I don't like, it was after the Islanders game, and Macklin got hit by Barzo, and hit in the head by Barzo. And it was an emotional loss for the Sharks, right? They were mad about the refereeing. They lost 2-1, middle of the playoff race, right? And Macklin came out to talk with us, right? And anyway, you could tell he was in a bad mood, obviously because of the loss, and that's fine. I never expect anybody. I wish Dan was still here for this part of it, actually, because this is a very post-game kind of thing, right? But anyway, though, so somebody asked asked Macklin about the refereeing. I think it was Curtis asked Macklin, like, any thoughts about the officiating tonight? And Macklin's like, I don't want to talk about it. And for the last question, for me, I wanted to ask Macklin, well, to me, this wasn't a refereeing question, right? I asked Macklin, well, what do you think of the contact with Barzal? What was just your perspective of it? And Macklin just, I mean, it's all on YouTube. You can see it, right? And I know that I was skewered in the comments for it, and Macklin just was like, and he just walked off, which, hey, you know what? Like, and I will still stand by it that, like, you can ask a good question and you can still get a reaction like that. Doesn't mean that was a bad question. And I didn't ask the question in a leading kind of way. I just asked him, what do you think of that hit? Because no one had asked him specifically about the hit. They asked him generally about the refereeing, which is related to the Barzal thing, but related to that whole game, because that whole game was sort of a mess for refereeing, at least for the Sharks side. The Sharks were at the short end of the stick, on a few big calls there. But, and that to me, though, if we relate to the Steve Simmons thing, is like, I asked a very neutral question, and Malcolm could take it wherever he wanted. And, Macklin was frustrated. I don't put any blame on Macklin for it. Like, I always say this, and Dan would agree with this, I'm sure. Like, this is these guys' livings. They just lost. Their emotions are wrapped up into it. It's literally, there is no job in a road where you fuck up or something fucks up, and someone 20 minutes later is like, hey, Alex Nedeljkovic, why did you give the puck away to Jack Eichel and lose the game, at opening night for the Sharks? Like, there's like no job I can think of where that happens except for in sports, right? Like, you guys can fuck up.
I can't fuck up. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking
you can fuck up.
Zero margin. But no, you're right.
If I fuck up, I have to go talk to 4 crying people. Like,
well, those are your fuck ups.
Or a malpractice suit.
Your fuck ups is different. Yeah, that's true. But still, though, no one, like, even if you fuck up, though, no one's in your face 15 minutes later about it. Most likely.
I don't know, man. Maybe, you should go to the ER sometimes.
Well.
It's not like it's not pronounced to the world. You're correct. It's not pronounced to the world.
Let me go the way. Exactly. Someone's in your face, but it's not
pronounced
on
to
TV.
the world.
It's not for like the consumption of like thousands of people watching Sharks post game live, and then it goes viral, and now like millions of people are watching it.
I think there's a good way. I think there's a good differentiation here, and I think 2 things are happening. Number one, what we've learned is, and it's just what it is, Sharks fans are extremely protective of Will and Mac.
I don't, it's not the point, right?
So,
that's not,
so I think there's also that's as a part of to the feedback is they see their kid upset and they're upset, like they're very protective. So I think.
No, I understand that, but he's also an alternate captain. So that's a big part of why I asked what I asked now, because if he was still, if he was just an 18, 19-year-old, which he is, but he was just that without all the trappings of it. Like, I've tailored my questions over the years. I don't know if you guys know or believe this, but the last 7 years, how bad the Sharks have been. Yeah, I tailored my questions specifically to that. Like, when the Sharks are 40 points out of the playoffs, like 3 years ago, I'm not chasing that William Macklin to bitch at him about stuff, because the team's terrible. It's not on William, right? But when you're the alternate captain and the game matters, then I think it matters. But I think the overall point that I just wanted to make, I'm sorry I interrupted you there a little bit, Zubair, but just that, like, I think that with Steve Simmons, relating back to that like, there's a way that he could have asked it again, that even if he says he doesn't make it about himself, I mean, he said, like, I talk with all these people, like, that's kind of making it about yourself. And there's a way
that's where we really like the way that you framed it, which I think can teach people and listeners the difference of asking the question. And I think the way that you framed the question created a clear delineation of a journalist that's looking for an answer from the management versus, kind of making it about themselves. And so I think that was a really good way to define it, Shanger, is the way that you would ask it. I think it's easy to make clear the difference. So I agree with you.
A tough question is heavy, though, to ask, though. You think about it a lot. Especially, how do I phrase it? You don't want to lead people or feel like you're leading people into an answer, right?
Yeah. And there's a lot of thought that goes into it. And I think that's
to be fair, like, if he didn't ask it that way, I think that Keith Pelly just explains it away, and then it's not an issue, right? Like, if he asks it in a way that gives him an out, then it doesn't go anywhere, and then it's never like a controversial thing. Well, it's still going to be controversial, but it's never to this degree where people are still talking about it days later. So some credit to him for doing that. I do agree that you shouldn't call someone a con artist to their face. That's kind of like, and he did it in a backwards way, right? Like, I'm not calling you it. Just 19 other people are calling you it. I'm not saying it. It's kind of a backwards way to say it too.
If I was conned by a con artist, I would say it to their face.
Mm-hmm. Right. But Steve Simmons was not conned by John
he's not conned directly, so
you shouldn't call him a con artist to his face. Anyway,
I'd probably call him a con artist in public.
It reminds me of, like, not to belabor the topic, but, like, I think it is interesting, though, like, the other time I could think of that was really uncomfortable recently was after the Sharks lost, I think it was the second of the 10-goal losses. I think that was Pittsburgh, 10-2. And I asked David Quinn, who I like a lot, and I asked him, and again, that's on San Jose Hockey Now YouTube, like it's recorded. And so how do you ask this question? Like, look, your team is like, what was the team's record? Like 0-10-2, and they had just been blown out, or 0-8-2,
like that.
And they had just lost like 2 10-goal games in a row, which has never happened in NHL history since like the 60s or some crazy shit like that. It was like the Bruins or something like that in the 60s. Like, your job is in jeopardy. I mean, it can't not be, right? Or it has to be asked at least. And so what was the most neutral way to ask it? That's what I tried to do. And so I think I just asked, like, are you concerned about your job security? And obviously the sensitivity of the topic, like, and David Quinn doesn't get mad a lot in public. He's pretty cool under fire typically, but yeah, you could see in his eyes, staring through me, But anyway, so I did want to give that balance though to Steve. I mean, maybe Steve, I don't know his exact mind frame. Like, if he had prepped it, or if for some reason it did feel like a rapid fire thing where he had to kind of form it. I don't know. But like, there is a lot of that I do think fans don't appreciate, that like you really have to think on your feet and you're not going to be perfect at it. And so,
no, absolutely. And then, speaking to some journalistic talking points, you guys both released an article, Keegan and Sheng, on, free agent targets on the blue line. So let's talk about that.
Vote on Discord which article was better. So
mine's longer. That's very clearly mine. Mine's longer. That's all you got to do. You scrolled it. It's
mine's
longer.
bigger.
Mine's bigger. Mine's more wordy.
Yeah. Well, Keegan, you want to go first?
Sure.
Let's hear your thoughts. We talked about this before too, and walk us through.
Yeah, I wanted to put out an article to just kind of, originally I was playing the article as like
go to halfwallhockey.net to see it, Egan's article, and also too, it is on the Discord too, a link to it on our Discord.
I wanted to just put out a review of the possible defenseman that we could get at number 9 at the time, which now it's kind of out the window because we have number 2. Not that the guys that I wrote about weren't available at 2 as well, but and then I just kind of expanded it from there. I'm like, well, okay, so if they get the draft nailed, and they get 2 good defensemen with 9 and 20, then where do we go from there in terms of what's possible for trades, what's possible for free agents? And honestly, looking through it, like I went through every team and was like, would they think about trading this guy or not, or why not? What would it take? And then I went through all of the free agents that are available and why the Sharks might be interested. And there's a good amount of like players that could theoretically be available. Not that we know or don't know that they are, but guys that you're looking forward to, like Ryan Shea and Darren Raddysh, that have had great years in expanded roles than they're used to, that may not command like Raddysh is probably still going to command a ton of money, but a guy like Ryan Shea was a guy that I signed in that article as an example. But guys that you're trying to find a breakout candidate that can eat minutes for you, that isn't going to break the bank or the years or your prospect pool to acquire. So I did have the pipe dreams listed on there, like Fox, Werenski, Nemec, that I don't think they're going to happen. But
I don't think Nemec is a pipe dream. I just don't think he's as good as his draft.
Like I guess pipe dream is in like unrealistic to happen as well. I think they just if it would have happened, I think it would have happened already. And you're right. Maybe he's just not maybe as good as this drafted position.
The reason why that Eklund for Nemec rumor took. One of the reasons why it took so many legs or it floated so high was because it seemed perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, it seemed like the thing.
And that's why I say I don't think it's a pipe dream, because like the trade is there if the teams want to do
But
it.
it hasn't.
The assets. Yeah, it hasn't. No, but you're right. It hasn't happened.
So
but
it could
yeah.
when Nemec wants to ask for his raise this offseason. It could happen where the Devils go no, or what have you. But anyway, it's a really good article. I landed with not signing Raddysh, but signing Ryan Shea, trading for Philip Roenick, and then signing or trading for Michael Kesselring, and signing Logan Stanley. So honestly, like a pretty big overhaul, but I think it's reasonable. It would help the Sharks a lot. But now we have a number 2 overall pick to add to that too. So
I wanted to say one thing I liked about your article that I hadn't seen yet was I didn't see Pierre LeBrun say that about Roman Josi. And he's a really interesting guy that in terms of like, he's still a really good player. He's still a number 1. He is not, of course, the Roman Josi of 5 years ago, but he's still, again, a number 1. And so if you can get him at a, he is 35, so at a reasonable trade cost. But I think reputationally, though, he's still Roman Josi, reputationally.
Well,
so I think I put him more in the pipe
for
dream.
sure,
I think
he is in the pipe
expensive.
dream in that article too.
Yeah.
And I brought up Pierre LeBrun because he was the one and the only one that I saw before the trade deadline to correctly say that John Carlson might be on the move, and then John Carlson got traded. So I was like,
no, we know Pierre is one of those guys. He's not hockey buzz.
He knows.
Pierre, Elliott. If they say it, then it's almost certainly a real thing.
Yeah, it's a realistic player that could get traded.
Mike, I think he could get traded, but I'm pretty sure where he is his career, he's going to a win now cup contender. He's going to be like in like one of those players like a Ekholm that's like, I'm going to a proverbial cup contender, take a cut, let me get my chip.
I'm going to Toronto.
I think you can. I think Macklin's so good though that you might be able to sell a team on that,
Maybe.
like sell a guy on that.
You're not. You didn't even make playoffs. I don't think
maybe.
And you didn't even make the Pacific. I think that I think the Sharks are not there as a team. Like, look at our defensive core. We're talking about a full overhaul. He's not going to fix that. He's a great defenseman. I think Josi is very strong. I just don't think that a player like him is going to want a cup contender. The Sharks are far away from a cup contender, let alone even make the playoffs at this point.
Let me interject. A lot of times what happens in these kind of situations that I've seen is that ideally, a guy wants to go to, it's like everybody in NBA. They want to go to like where the superstars are, but there may not be space for them. So like Roman Josi may be like, man, I'd love to go to Colorado, but like there's no cap space for him. Man, I'd love to go to Tampa Bay, but they've got, they have cap space, set for other people. So then you got to kind of go down the list.
Yeah, of course.
And just like Erik Karlsson, actually. Erik Karlsson wanted to go to...
He doesn't have Karlsson's contract, though. His contract's much more friendly than Karlsson's.
Sure.
I think it could fetch him.
The point, though, is that, like, you go down the list, and eventually San Jose may not be... I mean, this is kind of an academic point that we're just kind of arguing, but, like it may not be a top 5 destination, but, like, it's now become a above-average destination. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Correct.
As opposed to right, because you don't want to go to. If I was Josi, I would not want to go to LA, even though LA made the playoffs. LA is clearly a downward trend without the sort of the potential of a San Jose. Because if you're Roman Josi, you can say like, okay, we have Macklin obviously, but also you have all these young guys who can be so much better next year. And you're telling me you're also going to add other defensemen besides me. So anyway, we don't have to get too into the weeds of this one because it's all very academic. But I
just think there's like middle tier that can have space for them that have a better chance.
Well, maybe we can argue that, like, where San Jose is attractiveness for a star player, right, who wants to win a cup. But anyway, though, I like that. There are a couple of guys you missed, though, Keegan, that I had in my article, which I also think is very good too. And you can read that on NBC Sports Bay Area or San Jose Hockey Now. I like the idea of seeing if John Carlson wants to come.
because he's short term. He's still really good, as we can see in the playoffs, right? He fits a need. He's a good, even if you draft a Chase Reid, you're not going to pop in Chase Reid as your, number one defenseman next year. And so you need a bridge guy still. And the Sharks last year, they were hamstrung in terms of what kind of bridge guy they could get, because they were not an attractive destination. So a guy like Dougie Hamilton said no. And so they had to kind of settle for a John Klingberg and, overpaid John Klingberg by a little bit probably. Yep. But this summer, though, they don't need to. They're not, like Zubair says. Zubair's right. The Sharks aren't the most attractive destination, but they are now an attractive destination, though. I think we can agree on that. And so, like, maybe a Carlson.
Well, let me see a player that's coming to the Sharks that's a top-tier player.
Someone asked me why I didn't mention Michael Kesselring in my article, but I was specifically focused on
free agents,
guys that could have like guys that could have more of a top four impact. I would love for the Sharks to pick up a Kesselring. He's got some upside, and maybe he can be a top four guy for the Sharks, but like he's not in the sort of the. I mean, Kesselring is barely in the lineup, like in the playoffs, right? And so so he's more of a hope guy, a really good hope guy. One guy that's controversial that I mentioned in an article is Darnell Nurse. Mm-hmm. People don't seem to want him, but I think Darnell, if Edmonton pays some of it, and at I think he's still a good player based on at least the people that I talked to. That they still like him, just at like maybe $6 million or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, the problem with that is Edmonton going to find a $6 million defender like to replace him, No,
that's fair. That's fair. But
Roman
Yossi, yeah, that's a good point.
Sure. No, that does make sense. That does fit.
Let's do a 3-teamer, right?
Yeah.
Like they pay, they take some, we take Nurse. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a classic, like desperate team, like. But Nurse won't be going to Nationals, so that makes Nurse available, and then you get him at a lower cost. Just like New Jersey wanted to get rid of Hamilton to kind of improve their team last summer, right? And the Sharks, could have had him for a relative song for the relative talent. And so
he's got a no move as well. That should be noted too. Darnell knows.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of these guys do. Riley probably does too. And Hamilton obviously exercised it, but like I think if the place is sour, like Edmonton might be for Nurse, that again, San Jose is now attractive as opposed to no. Which was a no for Nick Leddy, a no for Barclay Goodrow.
I like the idea, like you said, of John Carlson, because it's a shorter term thing by design, because he's 36, probably turning 37.
36. He's 36.
So no matter what, he's going to be a 2 or 3 year guy. So I suppose
great
the other
locker
guys,
room guy.
Yeah. So it's like kind of a bridge. If you're looking for a bridge, like Yossi is kind of your bridge to a younger defenseman, like a Chase Reid or like a whoever we draft to take over. In the article that I had, I wasn't even thinking we could get somebody like Reid or Carels or whatever.
Right.
But here we are. So it's very possible. And then you get a bridge in the meantime. You let Reid go to college for a year. You sign him after their season is done. You integrate him into the playoffs. Easy peasy. And then we've got a winning team. I really do think that Greer's going to be aggressive and overhauling the defense. Hopefully, just how he's going to do it is going to be interesting.
I do think so. Yeah, I mean, exit interview, he said like, but like it didn't seem like he was going to be so aggressive. But I feel like he just doesn't want to give away his position a little bit there. That was my. You can't look at this team and tell me that you can't, that you can't improve this defense significantly, that you have to, because you're closer than you thought you were last summer. But another guy, I don't know, that I don't think you mentioned was Jacob Trouba. And I think he's Trouba. Interesting. And
I just kind of said that. Okay. My reasons against it's on there, but it was mostly that he moved once and he was kind of resistant to moving.
That's true.
And then now he's probably cemented in where he's at. So.
But he's in his time zone.
He's in the same time zone.
New York.
8 hours apart or whatever the drive is. And his wife is a doctor. And like at this point, if his wife is like established with her practice wherever he is now, I don't know that. Maybe she might be back in New York.
Yeah. We don't know the details.
But that's my only reason is like, I'd say Carlson's more realistic than Trouba. And but you're right. Another guy like has had a resurgence in physicality, point shot, all the things that the Sharks are missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he does sound like, I thought last summer he'd be a guy. It wouldn't surprise me if the Sharks inquired about him last summer, because he seems like the kind of guy that Mike Weir would want. And he definitely was available,
Mhm.
right? But he had obviously probably a say, kind of in where he would go. You mentioned Roenick, and Roenick is like my favorite realistic target this offseason. Seems realistic, even though the Canucks haven't kind of tipped their hand in terms of what they want to do. But what was your trade acquisition
It was
cost?
a lot.
For him?
Oh, it was not a lot. It was Edmonton's first, a second, Mocha Badulin, and Musty. So it was a lot.
Okay. That's a good amount. But, I think that's not unreasonable. When the Canucks acquired him from Detroit, it was less. It was essentially a first and a second. And so you're really adding, Musty's the big one you're adding. Mocha Badulin, as much as we hope he hits, he's 24, he still hasn't hit.
But
So
they're going to
he's
want a
become
guy
little
that's
bit
going to
more
be in
of
the
a-
lineup, and he would be in the lineup.
Yeah, he's a little more of a sleeper guy. All I'm saying is that he's a little more. He's not like the centerpiece of a trade anymore.
Sure.
He's lost that shine. But Musty is a first round pick. It's a good offer. Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's a lot,
That's fair.
and I think that's. I also don't think he's like the future number one power play guy for the Sharks. He's just right now.
No, he's
he's
not.
like the best
But
option.
he is 28. He is good offensively. He's right-handed. His contract is amazing, $7.25 million AAV.
Get it out of his zone.
Honestly, he might get more than your offer if it connects, put him to
Maybe.
market. Because he's well-rounded. So he's a guy that I do think that as the Sharks get good, let's say Chase Reid is your number one defenseman in 3-4 years, possible. Roenick could still be your number 2, number 3. So
Yeah, you're right. Your second pairing, right, D kind of guy.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
Go ahead, Z.
I missed the Craig Button segment, but just curious. Boiler finger gun. What are the Sharks doing with the number 2 pick, Keegan? 'Cause we talked about it a little bit before.
we
asked it this
but...
2 nights ago.
Oh, we did it on our Discord. Sorry,
Yeah. We've had so many.
It's good we answer here.
I'm gonna say
I'm kind of mixing things up. So
I'm gonna say he shocks the world, and he drafts Carson Carels because all of us are like Chase Reid or Albert Smits or Stenberg, and he just drafts Carson Carels because he likes him better. And that's my.
You think you do Carels?
I wouldn't do it,
You
but
think
I
Morehouse and
think
company?
it's just my wild off prediction that he chooses him,
Okay.
and he's a great player too. Not saying he's not.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
I don't want to give away what I'm working on, but I checked in with a lot of people, and again, the perception of Reid being that far ahead at defense is also maybe not. It's not unanimous, and so so that's not that shocking. If he had said like Verhoeff, that would shock me.
At this point, yeah.
Like I know Frank Saravalli put out a mock draft. I don't know how sourced that one was because it's like Stenberg, Verhoeff, and McKenna falls to Vancouver, which is like.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I that's not something that I reached out to a couple of scouts though, and they like Carels. We'll put it that way. Yeah. And we know Craig Button likes Carels too.
NHL.com's mock had Albert Smits, so to the Sharks.
Right, even that is conceivable too.
Mm-hmm.
I can see them because of the timeline, most NHL ready, size, the way he plays. I really think because the other thing that I noticed. So just thinking about how the Sharks have been drafting, even with Dickinson, skating defensemen that have like a higher floor. And Smits to me has a higher floor.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, skating ability, size, and Reid obviously has that offensive punch, over Smits. However, like you said, Smits is playing big boy hockey right now. Also, so I think he's the most NHL ready. I think he's got the highest floor of this pool of great defensemen. So I think between if I had to pick, and now I'm doing the boiler gun, between Reid and Smits, I'd say Reid. But
yeah,
I think
I'm choosing Carels also because his scouts are watching Ravensburgen every night, and then Carels plays with Ravensburgen, so I'm sure they're like, this guy, that happens a lot, and you get a bunch of reports. You can't not watch Carels. He plays 30 plus minutes a night. It's like he's there doing everything all the time. And
well, I wish that was the case because then we'd have Lane Hudson.
Yeah, that would be great.
Fair. Or even Cole.
Yeah, or Cole.
Yeah, just talk to Macklin, who should we take?
Yeah. Well, it's
Well, Lane was before,
yeah.
so yeah, but Colo for sure. Got the word on him. But one thing I would caution though with the Sam Dickinson pick is that when the Sharks had that pick, they were choosing really essentially between two defensemen. They didn't have the six to choose from.
Yeah.
Right. The 6 like presumptive top defensemen of that draft, which were also Parekh, Salayev, Lashunov, and
Yakimchuk.
who am I missing here? Yakimchuk, thanks. And so this is a different position because we don't know on the Sharks board, like if they had the number 2 pick or if they, who was their top defenseman. I'm still curious. So that's one day hopefully Chris Morehouse will reveal that because that was such an interesting draft because we all knew that the Sharks wanted or they should have wanted one of those 6 defensemen, but I wonder how they really had it ordered,
Yeah.
So
they tend to even if you look at Luka, they're willing to swing for the offensive defensemen that are clear cut a little later. Obviously, he's not in the same class as these guys, but that's just been they look for a high floor, and what I see is size, skating. Those are the 2 things, reach and skating. If you look at Mukmadulin, Dickinson, when they're willing, when it's a more valuable asset or higher draft, they tend to play safer on D. Is what I would see based on the body of work of Morehouse in picking defensemen. And to me, that leads to Smits. So that's my thought on that.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that there's not enough evidence to say for sure. It's your train of thinking is not necessarily wrong. I wonder with McDavid if that still might have been a different. I was Greer who made the trade, but I think that was the first year, so that still might have been. I don't know if that was maybe it was. I could be wrong about that one, but anyway, though. I would say though that boiler finger gun Reid.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, me too. Yeah, but if you finger gun me again, I might say Smits. No,
but I think Carels is really in there too, though.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
just
absolutely.
based on
Stenberg, then
people.
We're all saying these things, and he chooses Stenberg.
But none of us. What's interesting is none of us are saying exactly.
Well, I think.
Well, you said Stenberg a couple days ago. Keegan did
that he would do it, or that I would do it.
I thought we were talking about what the Sharks would do.
That's on his draft board though. Not
the board
is
2.
Right?
I would have Stenberg at 2, Reid at 3, Smits is my 4th. But I think I guess Carels, right? That was the at the end of this.
Oh really? I thought you said Stenberg, but
it was a very long 2-hour live stream.
2 days there.
And also
it's
forever
gonna be
ago.
so exciting.
I know. A lot of time being out in the draft.
I'm gonna say Carels. Just a I don't know. I think they see him so much, and he has a very well-rounded game. And I love Reid, and I've been watching a lot of Reid since this pick has been announced. And I still think that would be an awesome pick too. He's got such a interesting play style, carries the puck super well, and gets into the zone, tries to create with it. Very good hands and good skating for a player that is also growing, right? I think he grew too in the past 2 years. So I don't know. I really like him, and we talked about him months ago, guys, and now we could get him.
Yeah,
we were like, nah, we're never gonna get him, and then here we are.
That is crazy. Yeah,
it's insane. This is going to be so exciting, and we'll get into, I guess, what we're going to do with the Edmonton pick at a later point. But it's also exciting. I know you guys talked about it a little with Button, but we'll go on a deeper dive with Keegan later on that pick as we get.
Yeah, there's still great defensemen there too, and some interesting forwards. So, or theoretically, there we never know, but
yeah.
All right,
cool. All right, so Sheng, on to you. We're gonna give you some time to redeem yourself with Sharks fandom.
Oh boy.
And give us an explanation.
It's not going to redeem anything.
Give us an explanation. I wish Boilers was still here because he would tune you out. But
he would.
Okay, so you're going to give us an explanation, your thoughts as to why you didn't vote for Celebrini in the Hart.
Yeah, I wanted to give a more refined explanation of it because we did talk about it a lot the last episode, so I won't take a lot of time with it. But and also, too, because we're recording this on Thursday, they're going to announce the Hart finalists on Friday. I assume that Macklin will be on it. Actually, we talked about McKinnon and how good he has been in the playoffs. It was a shock to me that McKinnon wasn't a finalist for the Ted Lindsay. And I want to recognize Macklin for being there and how good a year he had, and the players
voting, Macklin as a finalist for the Ted Lindsay. And it was Kucherov, McDavid, and Macklin, but just shocking that, again, McKinnon just missed out on that. But anyway, though, I think overall, okay, so you look at the definition of the award, who was the most valuable to the team? Yes, it was Macklin. But when you vote on an award, though, it's like different kind of scales to it, right? When you decide, right? Like, obviously, it's not just most valuable to the team, because it could be a 60-point player who's the most valuable to his team, but you're not going to vote him the Hart winner when you've got 130-point scorers out there, right? Obviously, Macklin is not a 60-point scorer. He had 115 points, so way different. But there's different scales, though, when you measure that, right? So when you let's say you measure the most valuable to the team portion at 60%, but then who had the best season at 40%, right? Then that's where, okay, like maybe I'll just use a guy for example, right? Maybe Connor McDavid was a little less valuable to his team than a Macklin, but he was still very, very valuable to his team, as we saw when Hyman and Draisaitl went down, and when McDavid and Celebrini went head-to-head, right? End of the season, both critical games for both of them, and we saw McDavid drop 5 points. It's not that that Macklin was bad that game, but McDavid was just fucking McDavid that game, right? And so maybe then, like, okay, like McDavid's just a little less valuable than Macklin to his team, but you look at the season that McDavid had, which I think we would agree is just it was better than Macklin's, right? That's not any disrespect to Macklin's amazing Joe Thornton record-breaking season, right? But McDavid put up 138 points with not very deep Edmonton team, right? Top heavy, but not very deep Edmonton team. And you can make the same argument similar to Kucherov, though Kucherov's team was deeper than McDavid's, but that, okay, Kucherov is very, very valuable nonetheless to the Lightning. And you take him away, and who's your best player? I mean, you have guys like Braden Point, watching his press conference. Oh, I've got to train a little differently this summer. Like, he's not a guy who had a peak season.
Yeah.
Gensel had a very good season. Hedman wasn't around,
Hagel's
right?
Really good this year. Hagel's really good this year.
Yeah, Hagel was great though. But I'm just saying though that these aren't like perfect wagons of teams. They're both Edmonton and Tampa Bay, especially Edmonton, but Tampa Bay also dealt with some serious issues too. And Tampa Bay had an amazing regular season that Edmonton didn't have. And a lot of it was because they had Kucherov putting Gretzky-like numbers to end the season, second half of the season. And so Kucherov, again, you do this different scales, right? So yeah, Macklin's a little more valuable, but Kucherov had probably a better individual season. So if you're looking at how people are going to vote, right, and how I landed with my voting, that's probably kind of how they see it. It's not just me. That you don't just look at, oh, he's the most valuable to his team. I mean, if you look at most valuable to his team, you could have given Erik Karlsson the 2023 MVP. And I gave Carlson actually a fifth place vote because I usually try to add a goalie and a defense to my top 5 because I think it's kind of weird that the MVP vote, the Hart Trophy, is just all forwards. That's just my own personal thing. So that's not a everybody does it kind of thing. So I gave Erik a fifth place vote, even though the team was awful and whatnot, right? But no one will argue. I mean, we joked about it that they should build a statue to Erik Karlsson for dragging that team, to whatever they did that year. But obviously, though, Erik, wasn't really in the Hart Trophy conversation that year. So anyway, so I think that to close off, that's just how I looked at it at the end. I know no one's gonna like it. People will still get mad at me, but the most valuable to the team, that is an element of the argument, and Macklin was. I'm not going to take that away from him. But then you also have to measure just the individual season, and I think that McDavid and Kucherov and McKinnon, too, probably had better individual seasons. Again, don't forget, I still voted Backlund number 2. I said that. I did not leave him off my ballot.
No, thank God.
Like people act like I left Macklin off my ballot. So, so for me, then, okay, when Macklin is number 2, I need something else. And that something else it was 4 more points to make the playoffs. And it sounds like an arbitrary thing, but I mean, like I said, I'll keep saying this, like the valuableness has to lead to something, just something tangible. If that's a playoff appearance.
The only issue I have with point number one is like those, Kucherov had Raddysh and a more competent defensive core, and then you had Bouchard, and
McDavid had Bouchard all season
that could feed him, and Macklin had Orlov, and so he's able to put up that 115. But which makes him that much more, to me, that much more impressive, because if you just had one puck moving defenseman that was like competent at the level of either Raddysh or Bouchard, or even
three quarters,
yeah, I think you could notch up, 15 more points, even on just the PP.
About 15, but more points for
just
sure,
on the PP. I think that there would be so much more. And so I think that makes him even, to me, more important on the team in the definition. But I hear your point, and I think the clarification is helpful. So it was a close year, and there's a lot of great players this year. And I said it last time too. I agree with you. Like McDavid at that end of the stretch with no one, literally carrying the team on his back, like it was unreal. And I wonder when he fractured his foot and ankle.
That's a good question. When exactly happened?
When did that happen?
Is a good question, actually.
Because that's insane. Like he was still flying in that Anaheim series, and to do that with a fractured foot or
and he said that, I didn't have push. I was like, that's you without push?
Yeah, he was going coast to coast, flying into the tendy. Like it was unreal. It was unreal.
Did we nail it? Like, I know this is totally off topic, and I think people will forgive you. Just vote for Macklin next year.
They won't forgive
vote
me,
for him
but
next
it's fine.
year.
I still get crap about not giving, and this is even more clear cut, not giving Macklin my Calder vote last year, which is, I think,
did you give Erik Karlsson the Norris when you in that year?
I did because, and that was a lot of points thing, because my argument was just that no one had scored 100 points in 30 years.
Yeah, you did something historic for sure.
So, even Bouchard, again, it's people, Edmonton fans will be like,
so did Hudson.
Bouchard was just 5 points short of 100 or whatever. That's so ridiculous. But that matters. These milestones matter. Making the playoffs, they do matter. 100 points, those little they do matter.
Yeah, Lane Hudson having the most successful rookie year by a defenseman in 40 years or whatever, that does matter.
Yeah,
that does matter. And let me add, these little elements, when all the margins are so close in this kind of voting, right? Where if you did vote Macklin number one, I wouldn't say you're an idiot. If you voted McKenna number one, I wouldn't say you're an idiot. Kucherov, McDavid, right? I wouldn't say you're an idiot. When the margins are so close, then you need little things like that to push you ahead. So yes, it is about Macklin and a team, not Macklin's fault, but Macklin and a team getting 5 more points and making the playoffs. And maybe that 3/4 Bouchard would have helped them get there, but the Sharks didn't have that. So they didn't have that guy.
To me, seeing the explosion of Macklin in his sophomore year, taking his team from last place to 9th, it wasn't about the playoffs. It was about
ninth worst.
Last
place to 23rd.
Correct.
So let's just get the.
But that jump is massive, and to me, that is like, and it was directly correlated to his explosion. So I feel like, to me, that was what sealed it. It wasn't like you have to make playoffs. It was, look what you did. You took us out of the bottom of the dungeon and brought us into relevancy. So to me, I think that's what closed it for me, is like, I think if you tie it to playoffs alone, I think there was meaning in just
not playoffs alone for me, though. So I want to be
clear. No, as a differentiating tiebreaker, if you will, right?
Okay, fine.
Is what I mean. And then you said it earlier. We were talking about like an attractive place to play again. That's Macklin. And so again, to mean that to a team, I think that's just massive. And I just, to me, it became more and more clear that it was Macklin. But I hear you. Agree to disagree.
I do think there's a way better argument for Macklin as your Hart Trophy winner this year than Macklin as your Calder. I would not
Dude,
I cannot forgive myself if I gave, because the things I heard like after I said my vote, right? It's like, oh, he's just 18. That's not fucking part of the cultural voting at all.
No.
Like Lane Hudson had no doubt like the best rookie season.
Yeah, or Timmy Panarin wanted it like 25 or something.
For fans grilling
Yeah.
Shangers, and I told Shangers, I was like, dude, because like we knew what Macklin was going to be. We didn't expect what he's going to be in sophomore year, but we knew his ceiling and what he was going to accomplish. And I was like, this kid's winning it for sure thing. And even then, at the end of the year, I told Shangers, like, objectively, like, yeah, he didn't deserve it. It was Hudson. Similarly, this is the real test for me, Shangers. Did you go Faber or Bedard? Because it was 100% Faber for me.
Oh, it's 200% Faber.
Fuck yeah. Okay, that's my guy. See,
sure.
Shangers knows what he's talking about. If you're drilling Shangers for not voting for Macklin on the Calder, you're just wrong. For the Hart, Shangers, I think it's splitting hairs, like you said. It's so close.
There's a way better argument. No,
way better argument.
Yeah. There's
Calder,
a scout that called me an idiot too. You know what I mean? So it's not only you guys or Dan Boyle.
Yeah,
I
don't think it's a way better argument.
No
one thinks you're an idiot.
All right, we should.
Well, no,
let's close the show with two our like final like. What would you do if you were the Sharks, and what will the Sharks do for the number 2 overall pick? Because there's been names everywhere. You know, let's close it with that. And I'm not going to start. Somebody else can start.
I think they keep it.
Dog.
I'll go. They keep it. They get Reid.
Okay.
He goes to Michigan next year. And we do some off-season stuff based on your guys' articles. We upgrade the decor, but you keep the second overall. You let Polkamp develop, and you let Reid marinate for a year in Michigan. He's going to do great there. They got great coaches for D, and then I think the year after that you see him, and that's when the Sharks are moving, and he's better insulated. And I think that's what happens.
What would you do?
That's exactly what I would do.
Okay, same.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's Reid right now, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think it'll be defenseman. It may not be Reid. It could be Carels. I think Smits is still the other guys would surprise me, I think, but those 3 I think are the most relevant in the conversation. Just just from what I'm hearing, and then. Yeah, like the Werenski thing, for example, like I would do, but I don't think it's a real thing anyway, so it's not really worth. I don't think Columbus is trading him. So, I mean, he's the only guy who might be available that I think about, because McCarr's not getting traded, Hughes isn't getting traded right now, Heiskanen, Dahlin, they're not; those guys aren't getting traded. So, go with Reid. And then, be aggressive in the off season. And maybe not Raddysh, because Raddysh, the commitment is kind of scary to a late bloomer type. And it was interesting what Dan Boyle said about him. Like, just granted, Dan is not. It's not scout's opinion. Dan has only hasn't seen him for that many games, but. Yeah, that in that sample size of this series, that Dan wasn't like, oh, that's a guy that's going to be your number 1. And he's going to get like number 2, number 3 money. So like at least, right? And so, but yeah, so I guess maybe we're in agreement here then. Yeah. So.
All right. Yep. I would say they get Carels. For the Sharks, I would also say get Reid, but I would choose Stenberg for my team. But that's different. That's a different team entirely on halfwallhockey.net. But
but for the Sharks team,
I would say Reid.
Do you think the difference between Stenberg and Carels are like, because that's what I like. I think we alluded to this. Like, best player available. What does it mean?
Yeah.
And,
they're similar enough.
Oh, actually, I think
like the tier is close enough that the absolute lack of a top pairing D prospect for the Sharks means you gotta get a top D pairing for the Shark, like prospect.
The cliche.
But even isolated of position, I truly believe Reid's the best player on the board at number 2.
Oh,
that's fair too. Some people do think that.
I mean, Scott
just
Wheeler
100% like
today. Yeah. And Scott's very connected and also knowledgeable himself, like in terms of watching. That he thinks that number 1 is actually in play for Reid, but like it's
that's what Corey Proman wrote a couple months ago too. His ranking was Chase Reid first. That was a couple months ago, right after we did our prospects corner on Chase Reid, actually.
Yeah, cliche is that like if all things are the same, then you go for need. And so that's where like I think again emphasize again because I think the fans may have this wrong. They could be right. I'm not going to say for sure, but like I think that there's too much of like, oh, Stenberg is clear cut, no doubt. The like the second best prospect. I just don't think that's there.
Another way to put it, like just you mentioned Panarin, like Panarin was available, like, and look what you had to give up for him, and then look what you had to get for a Hughes. Like in terms of like, I think a lot of the way that Greery's treated, his regime with the Sharks is build asset value into the organization, and that's why you pick the best guy on the board. And when you think about just not only the best guy on the board, but what is the best asset value in terms of what you could bring to the organization as a trade piece, it's a right-handed defenseman that can skate and run a power play and
or
be
a center,
clear number one.
Like Malhotra.
Or a center, which they've done over and over again. And
which
wingers,
we asked about.
No, really? Yeah, and wingers just are
Malhotra,
not.
They are.
Yeah.
And even later down the line, like, even if you have a Panarin, they're just not as valued as a number one D or a number one center, or sometimes even a number two or number two.
No, that's fair. I mean, the Panarin versus Hughes, I think, like the age thing,
but
though, no, I'm agreeing with you though. Like Yossi versus Panarin, similar kind of case. Yossi's going to command so much more than Panarin
because it's your quarterback, right? That's your quarterback. They're moving the play, they're moving the puck. I think Keegan, did you talk about it on a recent episode? But like, we really lack, and I've been watching the Avs Minnesota playoffs the most, and it's like what you get when you get a quarterback, even in terms of controlled zone entries, other than just Macklin.
That's exactly what I said.
And you can drop, I think, that's exactly what you said, right? And it's like that's exactly what the Sharks are lacking, and that asset is so valued. And Stenberg, by the way, also great controlled entries. Like, not to say he's lacking that, but when you get that from the back end, you can move the puck out of your zone. Like, that is just so much more valuable. And Chase Reid, by the way, he's someone who, he's not got like a clear-cut story. Like he's been cut. He's been, sort of taking positions and being opportunistic of people in the lineup that got cut or got hurt, and worked his way up. Like he's also got a bit of a story there. He's not someone who was like consensus great defenseman, 5-10 years ago, like some other prospects. So I think he's got some grit and some things to prove as well. And he's developing so quickly. Like you said, he's put on size. To me, it seems so clear that he's better than Stenberg. And when I hear Stenberg put out there, I get it. He's more NHL ready right now, but that's the case with almost all forwards based relative to defensemen that are drafted at this age. So you just have to put that into context.
Well, I would argue, though, that the so clear part, because that's the reverse argument we're trying to make with Stenberg, that it's not so clear. And so,
well, in terms
Stenberg
of like
ahead,
NHL readiness right now, is what I mean.
I mean, he's
like
going to probably play in the league next year. Stenberg will probably.
Yeah.
Right, but that's not a way to look at it, which I do agree with you on. Like, it's like people like you kind of alluded to this in just private conversation, but like, everyone loves what Martone's doing for the Flyers, but it doesn't mean that the Sharks made the wrong pick just based on this 1 year. Right? Misa's a centerman. Misa is
more
not
responsibility
developed physically. And so maybe in 5 years you can laugh at the Sharks and be, oh, you made a mistake, but let's give that a few years but not just after this year. And so that's a good chance that that's going to happen, right? Like a guy like McKenna or Stenberg, they're going to be a Calder Trophy contender next year while Chase Reid is at Michigan State.
Here's a good way to add to that point is like, a lot of the reason why centers and defensemen take longer to develop is because they're carrying a lot more responsibility and have to learn a lot more. Like centers learning face-off skills. 100%. He's learning like, how to play in the boards more and down low, etc. So, the NHL readiness is also, you have to adjust for position. And I think that's not done enough when considering these things. So I totally agree. And that Misa Martone thing's fun. It's kind of like the Bouchard Dickinson thing. It's going to keep happening, and it's a fun thing to talk about. But it is fun to see Martone and what he's doing and his confidence in the postseason.
He is real good, though. Yeah,
he's real good.
Yeah. You want to hear I was reading through scouting reports, and as I wrote this on September 27th, 2024 about Porter Martone. One of, if not the best puck control and handling in the class. Soft hands, excellent puck receptions, tons of deception, using the defender's triangle to make plays through players, looking for the highlight reel play frequently. He's going to pass up the easy play for the difficult one, get burned by it often, though. And then I said turnovers could be an issue. He's occasionally going to have some poor shot selection, too, but he's got a hell of a shot. And then I said the combination of hands, shooting, playmaking, offensive IQ has to put him up there as a top 3 player in this class. That's what I wrote. And Martone, it's different because he had concerns with like his conditioning and like his skating at some points, but he improved all of it in college. It just kind of took off. And that's what you want from a guy like Reid too, where it's like the raw skill is all there. You just got to get him into college, get his conditioning up, get his decision making a little bit more nailed down, but all the skill is there, it feels like, with him. So I see why people rate him so highly.
I did want to say too, actually, I forgot. So one of our fans on Discord, if you're still listening, because this is going to be like,
this is long,
almost 3 hours into the podcast, or touching 3 hours, but we didn't ask Craig Button about Martone because we didn't have that much time with him. And also too, like, I remember when Craig came on with us last summer and he really loved Martone, but though I think when he got closer to draft, I think he was more, he started going more to the Misa side. So I didn't want to really like spend too much time with Craig about something he said. Again, this is actually a good sort of thing for everybody to remember. Like, the draft is still like 6 weeks away. So much can change. A lot changes, right? Like, again, Leo Carlson's a great example of that like at this point in 2023, it was like Bedard, Fantilli, like, you're an idiot if you don't draft Fantilli number 2. That was like the consensus, right, online at after the draft lottery 2023. But as we saw, changes happen. Carlson went to the World Championships. Smits can do that at World Championships. Stenberg, let's not write off Stenberg. Stenberg, if he does, he is going to go, right? I think you said it, right? So he can change
Smits,
perception of him.
I think Bjork is too, but I haven't seen confirmation.
Oh
of
yeah,
that.
I think he might have been too. Yeah, I think I saw that too. But like, so if a guy like Stenberg ups his ceiling to now, you feel like, oh, we might be passing it up on Leon Draisaitl, even if he's not like the whatever, like, hardcore center type, or Pasternak or something like
Phil
that, right?
Forsberg probably, but yeah, like in terms of the ceiling, probably
type, but no, but I'm talking about really high though, because the ceiling transforms from, because right now I think ceiling is seen as McKenna is your clear cut. Even if McKenna lands at number 2, the ceiling is so high that you got to just go for that guy. But I don't think Stenberg consensus agreement of his ceiling is like McKenna.
And positional need.
So
that's all we keep saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But though, Stenberg can change at the World Championships though. So anyway, point is that a lot can change from now to June 26th, the draft. That's why we didn't ask Button about Martone, because I think as we got closer to the draft, through the combine, I think even Craig's opinion changed on Misa. You could hear what Craig said about Misa. He loves Misa. Yeah. So
thinks he's going to be a great
I just
player.
want to add, Stenberg did fantastic in World Juniors, and that did change, to your point, his rankings. He tore it up, all positions, PK, power play, etc. He looked unreal there. So, I mean, going to be a great prospect either way. I just love that, it was going to be number 9. Who do we left over with? And now we're like, let's cook. Let's see who we got.
Anywhere in the top 5, right? Anywhere in the top 5, it sounds like it was a good spot for the Sharks, right? Because
100%.
Carels, Stenberg, right? Yeah, Reid.
Yep.
Yeah, Central Scouting
Smits,
said, you could pick in the top 7 and every team get the player they want.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of how this draft is. I love the way they stated it. And I think that's true. Like, I think you can pick and be happy. And I mean, it's great. I'm excited. I really hope it's Reid. We'll see, but
because 9, you're hoping that like Verhoeff falls, like he is maybe the most likely, maybe the fall.
Yeah, Rudolph as well as the leftover.
Or Smits. Yeah. But Rudolph isn't considered like top 5.
No, he's probably number 6
right?
on that whole list.
Yeah, so like, So.
And also, by the way, I wouldn't write out Malhotra.
Yeah, for the Sharks?
No, you know what?
No, not for the Sharks. I'm talking like
as in that
top
area.
5.
Oh yeah, he's going.
Oh yeah.
Like,
he's gonna go high. Yeah,
100%. And I could see him going over Stenberg.
He might
in this draft. Like, absolutely. And that's just, again, how close it is. Positional need. The pedigree's there. He's been on the uptick. Great leadership, apparently, on and off the ice. Like, I can see him being a number one, like a Patrice Bergeron, essentially, for a squad.
And I mean, great minds think alike. That's what Button said too. Button loves Malhotra too. So
yeah, dude, Malhotra's like, don't write him out. I can see him going over Stenberg. So
he said he's as good as Stenberg, and he plays a more important position. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, don't ride that out either.
Yeah,
because we're talking about D because of the Sharks a lot, but like Malhotra's right there.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, so yeah, you're right. We have a month and a half, almost 2 months to the draft, so we have like time. We got time to do some scouting here, guys. Which
there's
prospect corners to happen. So excited.
And before we go, just wanted to thank our new sponsor again, Blade Tech. It's awesome to have Bring Hockey back and now Blade Tech as well, backing this podcast. So don't forget, Bring Hockey back. Our promo code, San Jose Hockey Now, and also San Jose Hockey Now 10 at Blade Tech for 10% off. So use that. Remember, supporting them supports this podcast. So thanks for our new sponsor, and also Bring Hockey back, our existing sponsor.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.